This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping the ball in style. A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy at blast. All rise. Here comes the judge. Swung on. Hit high. Hit deep to right. Away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
It is wonderful to be back. I like the updates, by the way. Bobby Witt in there, Shohei Ohtani 50-50. Hi, Commander. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I had to make sure we updated it going into the offseason and next season with some new highlights, new Ken Korak call. So
Yeah.
I figured I'd use the people that are most prevalent this season: Bobby Witt, Shohei Ohtani.
Nice.
Had to get Tom Hamilton in there still because we love Tom Hamilton and Hosey. And obviously John Sterling, who's calling World Series and playoff games for the Yankees. So glad to be back. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, well, we told you after the last show that we did, and then I tried to let everybody know after the very final game against the Seattle Mariners that we were going to take a little break, that we would all need a little break. And I think it was a really good call because I know for me, emotionally, and for a lot of you, it was some really, really heavy stuff. But it's time to get it going again. I'm excited to be back. To start basically our off-season run. It's not the off-season yet because we got the Fall Classic. We've got the World Series that we'll get into in just a moment. I know I mentioned it a while ago before the playoffs started, saying, listen, I don't like either of the two teams, but we really do need to have this outcome for our sport. I'll explain in a minute. But it's a lot of fun to be back. Recharge, ready to go. We're going to be at the winter meetings in Dallas. We have the full off season. Before you know it, it'll be pitchers and catchers in February. It's like February 14th or something like that.
Yeah,
15th.
our first game's like the 22nd, so it might even be before then.
All the games will be back. We'll be ready to rock A's Baseball 2025. So I'm happy to be back with you. If you're listening to us on A's Cast or you're watching us on YouTube or on Twitter, thank you for coming back to the process. We have a great show for you. The general manager of the Athletics, David Forst, is going to join us, and Mr. Data, Mr. Stats for ESPN, morning show personality, a New York Times best-selling author, Paul Hembekides from ESPN, better known as Hembo, is going to join us coming up here in just a little bit. Yeah, we just got to wear this one and just understand that what is going to happen today is the best thing that could happen for our sport. It makes me want to vomit in my mouth. I can't stand the Yankees. I can't stand the Dodgers. But as I said weeks ago, after what we had last year, where you had the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, right? Not small market teams. They're both top 10 television markets, but nobody cared. That was a problem. And we have seen World Series numbers on television. Television shouldn't dictate everything, but unfortunately in our business it does. We had just seen the ratings go like this. I'm sorry, Giants, Kansas City, not carrying it, right? Even when the St. Louis Cardinals have been in it or the Boston Red Sox have been in it, you name the teams, it had not carried it. And we see with the All-Star game, year after year after year, the All-Star game going down in ratings. We need something to prop us back up. And it was not going to be the Guardians. It wasn't going to be the Brewers. It had to be the mega matchup that we have. We just got to suck it up. It's the best possible outcome. I've been reading this stuff. Do you realize that this game tonight will be on Saturday morning in Japan? And game 2 will be Saturday morning in Japan. The global view that we're going to have of this World Series is going to be massive. It's what our sport, in the end, I care more about our sport than anything else. This is going to be healthy for baseball. If you haven't followed just how even more than ever before the ratings for football are crazy. Like this last ratings this past weekend for Texas, Georgia was through the roof. We already know the NFL, but the college games, the way the college is now and the way that we have these mega conferences, yes, it has worked. And the number, we needed something to cut into the football world. And the only thing that was going to cut into the football world was Yankees and Dodgers. We have it. And it's hard to believe that it's the Dodgers that are carrying it more than the Yankees. As we talk about the international view, Stan Kasten, the president of the Dodgers, who I had on this program.
Spring training.
In spring training, God, what was it, like 2 years ago? I caught up with him at Hohokam. He's been one of the best executives in sports, let alone Major League Baseball, where he's always had this bigger view than just the game. Quotes in an article on MLB.com where they talk about how getting Yamamoto and obviously Ohtani, you're talking about it changes the merchandise. It changes the food at Dodger Stadium. They have tours in Japanese now at Dodger Stadium. I mean, it's why I laugh when they talk, and I've said for years, like, you know, Juan Soto's going to get paid. But Juan Soto's return on investment is nothing like a Japanese player. If you talk about foreign-born players, the return on investment is just absolutely unbelievable when you look at the international money you get when you have a Shohei Ohtani. We first learned that from all the years with the Angels, all the money they are raking in from overseas. You have two of these guys. My God. All of Japan is going to be watching this. Truly a global World Series. So, once again, the matchup is like, oh, my God, these two guys. Now, I grew up watching Yankees. It seemed like all the time when I was a kid. But this is the matchup that we needed to cut into a world with the NBA starting, football full-blown. Once again, football is just killing it in numbers. We needed something to take people's eyeballs away from football, away from the start of the NBA. Because, I mean, last year you had two teams in the World Series, Rangers and Arizona, that don't even have local TV deals anymore.
That's a fact.
Right? Like, and according to our boss, we're gonna have a lot of teams this year who don't even have, like, the Bally's is only coming out of bankruptcy. They're going to only retain a couple teams. So we're going to have over half the league doesn't have a cable deal. So this is something to get people back into baseball. I mean, when you can pry Paul Hembekides away from the Dallas Cowboy disaster, when you can pry him away from Bronny and Bronny Jr. playing together to talk baseball. I mean, I'm hoping he's allowed to do. I mean, I can type Mike McCarthy and whether he thinks Jerry Jones and the play calling is okay. To pry ESPN away from that debate, Hembo, are you allowed to talk baseball?
Yeah, but there's a statute of limitations here, obviously. At the very end of our conversation, we got to get into Bronny James's G League stuff. But between also the Cowboys guided tours were a big topic of conversation across the national sports spectrum this week. But for a few moments here, perhaps we can focus on a small event that they call, the World Series.
Now, working in television, we built you up as one of the great personalities there at ESPN, a New York Times best-selling author. Now we'll get into the new book. There you have it. But you understand television ratings. And what I talked about, I said, you just got to look at last week, Georgia and Texas, and the number that got and it was a great game, but the number that got, plus the NFL, how big is it for our game of baseball to have Yankees, Dodgers? The international numbers are going to be huge to pry people away from this great game of football, to get it back to the great game of baseball. This is what we needed.
Yeah, that's sort of the genius of baseball, is that one year you can have the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, and that the next year that you can have the Behemoths. I think as a baseball commentariat, we can't have nice things. We complain when we wind up getting a small World Series like that very few people watch, relatively speaking. And then all the small market teams are complaining that the league is fixed and other such nonsense when you get this year. But truthfully, that's kind of what makes the world go round. Baseball does its stuff with as much parity as any league that there is. Just because you have a great quarterback, you generally at the very end when it comes to the NFL's postseason, and if you have one of the great players in the NBA, that typically guarantees you a spot late in their postseason. But baseball is not an individual game like those sports. Baseball is a team game. Baseball is the ultimate team game, a team game where only one player can matter so much, right? Just ask Mike Trout. So the fact that we have, in my opinion, at least 7, if not 8 Hall of Famers that are in this series is massive for baseball. There is no question about it. It's not as if baseball was in need of something like this. And if we didn't get a World Series like this, all of a sudden it was going to collapse onto itself. But I don't think it's hyperbole to say that there are going to be major leaguers 20 years from now that are there because of what happens in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're seeing at the bottom of our screen, Sporting News' name, Mason Miller, Rookie of the Year. And Mason Miller is going to get a little love during this World Series. He'll be talked about, and that's the thing. It's like having these awards start to come out and the broadcasters talk about it and all these eyeballs. So you can say, listen, Dodgers, Yankees bring people. Hell, that'll help the A's because now people are going to know Mason Miller won this award. So it's really good for everybody. The main question that I always have for the Yankees, because now we're breaking down Garrett Cole's four-seam fastball and what the Dodgers do 96 miles an hour below. We're breaking down all this kind of stuff. But to me, the Yankees are always one thing. If they don't hit home runs, how do they win?
That's the right question to ask. The Dodgers out-manufactured, if you will, the Yankees by dozens of runs this season. And I'm sure you're not surprised to hear me say so. But the Yankees' formula offensively is pretty clear. They want to out-homer you, and they're not going to beat the Dodgers given the artillery that the Dodgers have offensively with solo homers. I think that's why Gleyber Torres and sort of the wraparound in the bottom part of the lineup is so critical to this stuff. If Juan Soto and Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are coming up to the plate without traffic on the bases, the Dodgers are going to win the series. If those guys are coming up because Gleyber Torres set the table, because Juan Soto worked a walk, because the bottom of the lineup did its job, then the Yankees have, in my judgment at least, a better than 50% chance to win the thing. I don't want to be so reductive because there are going to be dozens, if not hundreds, of small variables that contribute. But if we're looking high level, we're looking at big picture stuff. Gleyber Torres is hitting 318 and on basing 390 since they made him their leadoff hitter on August the 18th. And he's got an on-base percentage of more than 550 in the first inning alone. The Dodgers pitchers have an ERA of more than 8 in the first inning this postseason. Yeah. You look at little things like this, sort of try and collect the most breadcrumbs that you can. Those are the kinds of things that are going to make a difference in this series because the talent is outstanding on both sides. The betting market views this as something of a coin flip, and frankly, so do I.
One thing that I've noticed, and it really you saw it with the Tigers and the Guardians, where all of a sudden you start to look at pitching staffs that just look tired. They look tired. And then we've talked about getting that bye early as hurt teams. What would happen if it didn't hurt a team? And I went today to look at the schedule because the one thing that I've noticed about LA and New York is that the offensive players look fresh. LA's had 14 days off since the end of the season. The Yankees have had 16 days off. So no matter what, pitchers are not going to be fresh. They have all thrown so much, and we wear our bullpens out. It's amazing to me how good the position players look like they don't look like they've played a 6-month season. This is more time off that they've had basically half a month off. Have you noticed that the position players look a little extra fresh?
Yeah, they're live. And I think they're live in large part because the arms are not. The arms are dead. I want to give you a really loud number. And the reason why I believe that this layoff helps the Dodgers more than it helps the Yankees. So I'm just going to give you what the Dodgers bullpen stats are this postseason on games in which they're coming in with some rest at least one day and games in which they're coming in with none. So in this series, that, of course, is going to be games 2, games 4, game 5, and game 7. Dodgers bullpen pitching with rest this postseason, my friend. It's a 1.29 ERA, a 30% strikeout rate. No rest. We're talking back-to-backs here. A 4.97 ERA and a 15% strikeout rate. Those are astronomical differences, which is to say, I think that it is critical, absolutely critical, that on those days, games 4, games 5, and game 7, that the Dodgers get something from their bullpen. Because the Dodgers pitching staff they're a bullpen team. That's what the Dodgers have made themselves. They're clearly and obviously a bullpen team. They trust Yamamoto to get them through the order twice. They trust Jack Flaherty to get them through the order twice if his four-seam fastball is there. And they trust Walker Buehler to get through the order once. And even that's a stretch. He's been absolutely lit up this year in innings 1 and 2. This is a bullpen team, and we know it. So I think the Yankees, generally speaking, have a sort of cut and dry pitching formula. The Dodgers, I think, have a lot more hypotheticals because they're a bullpen team and because their bullpen has been so reliant upon rest this postseason, not surprisingly.
Dodgers like to throw fastballs. Yankees like to mash fastballs. That's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, power versus power here. And I think that you'll see games 3, 4, and 5 at the stadium be so much more intriguing than the bookends of the series because of that very reason. The Dodgers pitching is going to be much weaker here at the stadium than it's going to be out there because of the way that it all shakes out. You're going to see Walker Buehler in game 3 or 4, of course, with the bullpen game being the other. And then you're going to see Jack Flaherty at Yankee Stadium. And look, those are not games that I'm going to feel that good about if I'm a Dodger fan. I think it's fairly critical that they win games 1 and 2 because of that. The Yankees have built their team for the first time in the last 15 years. They built their team to rake at that stadium. They have the righties with opposite field power. And of course, Juan Soto with that short porch plays up big time. That's going to be critical to me. Like if the Yankees can tag Walker Buehler and you're talking about 2 straight games where you're basically getting the Dodgers relievers, Game 5 is going to be a bloodbath. I think we're looking at a really high-scoring series. I've actually not done the research in terms of recent years and what the output in the World Series has been like. But I'm thinking back to some of those Rangers World Series, Rangers Cardinals, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it's going to feel like that. I think by the end of the series, these are going to look like football scores and not baseball scores. I don't think this is going to be played I don't think the series is going to be played in a phone booth at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, he just told us all. Well, we can't, but he's telling you, bet the over.
Play the over, kid. Play the over.
Well, it's funny. Like when I was growing up, and maybe it was just a product of their talent, Dodger Stadium was always known as a pitcher's ballpark, right? The Marine Lair would come in over downtown Los Angeles. But now when you look at this year, basically the numbers, Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium number-wise, basically play the same.
Yeah. If you allow me to nerd out for a second, because that's what I do for more than seconds. Park effects are much more durable over 3-year, 4-year, 5-year samples, and so those stats are valuable, but we're taking with a grain of salt. I want to add one number to the repertoire here that I think you'll find really interesting as a student of baseball history, because Buster asked me earlier in the week when I did his pod if I thought it was unprecedented or surprising that 2 teams get to the World Series on the strength of their lineups and not the strength of their pitching staffs, because it was his observation that typically in October, it's the pitching staffs that drive success. Those are the sort of the separating factors. That's been his observations. So I looked it up. This is literally the first World Series ever. We're talking about a thing that's been played since 1903. It's the first World Series ever in which teams that had a regular season OPS plus of 115 or higher met in the World Series. OPS plus is a stat for which 100 is average. And on a team level, 110 is really good, 115 is great, 120 is all-time great. The Yankees have an OPS plus this year of 115. The Dodgers is 121. The Dodgers have the best batting line by a National League champion since the 1976 Reds that swept the Yankees. We're talking about the highest OPS plus by any NL pennant winner ever against the Yankees team that was at 115. Again, I'm nerding out here, but by that standard of measure, this is literally the best lineup matchup in the history of baseball, which was a distinction previously held in the 1953 series between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be, if you just go by the numbers, it's going to be a bloodbath, right? And that's what always takes me back to. I can see how the Dodgers can score in a lot of different ways, right? They have athleticism, they got power, they got athleticism. To me, then it becomes, okay, how do the Yankees score? It's like if the Yankees are hitting home runs, they're in this thing. If the Yankees are not hitting home runs, because the Dodgers, it's their firepower, they put up crooked numbers really, really fast, even without putting the ball out of the ballpark.
I got a number for you. So the way that I define that is 3 or more run innings. This postseason, the Dodgers have 11. The Yankees have 4. There's a considerable difference there because if you have the ability to be explosive, like in football, we talk about creating explosive plays, right? 20-plus yards that obviously often put you in scoring position or in the end zone. Baseball works the exact same way. In today's hitting environment, you're not typically stringing hits together, but the Dodgers do that considerably better than the Yankees do that. Not just because they strike out less frequently, not just because they steal more bases, but because they just hit more singles. Like the Dodgers are just a better hitting team top to bottom. I told you, They have the best batting line by any National League pennant winner literally ever, and that was a record held by the 1976 Reds that had Hall of Famers up and down their lineups. The Dodgers are going to sort of outmanufacture the Yankees here for sure, and I actually do have some confidence that there'll be traffic on the bases. The Dodgers are going to have a shrewd pitching approach to be able to keep at least the big three in the ballpark, which is why I think you're going to see a lot of the ancillary pieces play up a lot more. It's not going to be a series decided by the stars. I think it's likelier to be a series decided by guys like Teoscar Hernandez and Gleyber Torres and Austin Wells and Max Muncy, because you know how these pitching staffs are. I mean, they're going to devote all their resources into doing the thing that you know you have to do. And you're not going to be able to sleep with yourself if you lose because Aaron Judge hits 5 home runs in the next week and a half. But that's kind of how these pitching staffs approach this. Like, in what way am I willing to die, for lack of a better term, not to be morbid? But if you lose the World Series because Gleyber Torres hit 450, you can live with yourself. You can't live with yourself if Juan Soto hits 6 homers and walks 9 times in the next 7 days, you know?
All right, two guys I wanted to get to you real quick. Obviously, we're going to want to talk about Juan Soto. But one stat that I saw that really was eye-opening was best WAR through your first 11 years in modern-day baseball.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this list. Obviously, the top guy was Albert Pujols, and it was Barry Bonds. I mean, it's all-time greats.
Mm-hmm.
The two guys that were right next to each other that really stood out to me was our own, the greatness, Ricky Henderson and Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts and Ricky Henderson are basically almost identical first 11 years. We all know how great Ricky is. I don't know if we talk enough about the greatness of Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts is a centurion, as Scott Boras likes to put it. He's a top 100 baseball player of all time, definitively. A player that averages something like 8 WAR per 162 games he plays, which is among the dozen or so best in the history of baseball. Defensively, he has recently surpassed Roberto Clemente in career fielding runs in right field. We're talking about one of the best defenders in the history of that position of all time, inarguably. A plus base runner who has obviously big time pop, but also his hit tool is advanced as well. His collection of skills is first ballot Hall of Fame great. Mookie Betts, in my judgment, has been one of the most underappreciated superstars of the last, we'll call it 15 or 20 years. And it's bizarre because he's played his career in Boston and with the Dodgers. But here's sort of the argument that I would make in favor of that notion, right? I think we've talked about Mike Trout so much because his teams have sucked. And I think we've talked about Mookie Betts relatively little because his teams do what they're supposed to. And he's not flamboyant. He's not demonstrative. He's just a legitimately great baseball player who doesn't ever put together the kinds of seasons with gaudy stats that we care about that much. He's never going to hit 60 homers in a season. Never going to steal 60 bases in a season. He's never going to do anything like that. But what he is going to do is steal 20 bases, hit 40 doubles, hit 30 homers, have 15 defensive runs saved in right field. And the combination of those skills adds to an inordinate amount of value. And when you consider what he did in the infield, like, it's not, look, you played this game too. It is impossible to believe that Mookie Betts went from being an all-time great right fielder, which he is, as I just illustrated, to being a passable middle infielder in the big leagues with literally one offseason to prepare for it. I think Mookie Betts is one of the best athletes to ever play the game. And that's not just talking about his speed or his quickness or his agility. It's talking about all the things that sort of go into playing this game. You know, it's such a nuance-filled game, detailed-filled game. It's not just about how quick you can do stuff, how fast you can do stuff, how good your hands are. It's the ability to do all those things and mentally to be able to process all of the things happening in front of you, which in the infield is a far cry than what's going on in right field. Mookie Betts has made plays at shortstop that Gold Glove shortstops can't make, and he happens to be the best right fielder, at least of his generation.
And he did it in his 30s. It's not like he's like 25 years old doing it.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's incredible. Juan Soto, it kind of reminds me back when your Phillies signed Bryce Harper and Manny Machado went to the Padres. You had these young dudes entering free agency. It's Juan Soto's birthday. He's 26 years old. He's right in his prime. If he has, great World Series or not, we know he's getting paid. But let's just say he does have a great World Series. Where are you starting that number as you're getting him in the start? We've already seen what he's done as a kid. Now he's entering his true prime as a man.
So I wrote down a few numbers for you. I assume that Scott Boras listens to the show, so he's more than welcome
He's
to
been on the show twice.
send a check in the mail, and I assume he listens every day. So here's what I wrote down. Scott, you're welcome in advance. 14 years, $658 million. That's the get in the door price for Juan Soto. And I'll tell you exactly how I get there. Juan Soto is the kind of person that quite literally never or almost never hits free agency. The highest average annual value ever, of course, is Ohtani at $70 million a year. But you guys know that plays at about 46 a year. When you consider the deferrals, I think Soto's going to get more than $46 million a year. I really do. The longest free agent deal in history is 13 years. That was Bryce Harper, who was also entering his age 26 season in his first year in Philadelphia, which is exactly where Juan Soto will be. Obviously, like you said, he turns 26 today. If I'm Scott Boras, I deserve to have my client break both of those records. 14 years, and that puts him at $658 million. And the reason why I feel like that is not an unreasonable ask is because I know for sure he's going to the Hall of Fame. Because nobody as good and as young as Juan Soto has ever not gone to the Hall of Fame. And he has all the old man skills that are necessary to thrive into a player's mid to late 30s, which is, of course, always the question when it comes to levying contracts of that magnitude. And so Juan Soto is inarguably one of the 50 greatest hitters that ever lived, and he's going to continue to climb those leaderboards. He does absolutely everything for which I'm certain will age well. And he's also an eminently marketable player to put in the middle of my lineup. And I think we've seen the enormous value that Bryce Harper has generated in Philadelphia, the enormous value that Manny Machado has generated in San Diego. And candidly, Juan Soto is better than both of them, better than either of them. Juan Soto, I think, has a non-zero chance to get the kind of contract that makes you googly eyes, the way that in yesteryear we did when A-Rod got 10 for $252 from Texas, and that blew everyone's expectations totally out of the water.
Are you going to enjoy that over at Citi Field?
I think that's what happens.
Wow.
And I think
the Mets, the Mets.
And I think it's made easier. I think it's made easier if the Yankees win. Believe it or not, if the Yankees win the World Series, I think you allow Juan Soto to walk more easily than you do otherwise. Ask a Braves fan. If Freddie Freeman had never won a championship there, it would sting a lot more. But Freddie Freeman left Atlanta and signed with the Dodgers immediately after they won the series. They, of course, brought Matt Olson in. And I don't think it would have gone as smoothly had the Braves not just won the World Series. I think if Brian Cashman had his druthers, he doesn't want to pay Juan Soto $500 million. He didn't even want them to re-sign Aaron Judge, for God's sake. So the idea that he wants to do that would strike me as unlikely. And I think Hal Steinbrenner would be willing, but I think you have to twist his arm. You know whose arm you don't have to twist? Steve Mother Bleepin' Cohen. Steve Cohen wants to build a baseball empire. What better way than to steal the Yankees right fielder, pay him $500 million, and stick him in right field on opening day?
Well, three guys, when you think of Aaron Boone, which, by the way, one of the great digs of all time, you're a Trojan for life, you're a Bruin for 4 years. That was for us California people, and I grew up in Southern California, and let me tell you something, that is a great dig. But when I think of Dave Roberts, when I think of Boone, and I think of Cashman, them all just getting to the world, because it's always been like, they need to be fired. This guy, they all just kind of, their paychecks are fine now getting to the Fall Classic, win or lose. They're going to be good. Let's end on this. Show us that beautiful book.
The book is entitled Got Your Answers. It is written by Mike Greenberg and yours truly, the 100 Greatest Sports Arguments Settled. So what Greedy and I have done is effectively decide these are the 100 water cooler conversations in this country that have generated the most debate. And rather than just pontificate, what I did was, at least in most cases, because most of these are quantitative type things, dive into the numbers to determine what, at least in most cases, the top 10 for each things are. So, for example, I just opened up a random page, and incidentally, it's chapter 34. What is the perfect all-time baseball lineup according to Hembo? So I put together my all-time starting 9. And what I've done here is at every position, choose the best player, stack my lineup, and I wrote like a 300-word essay on why.
Wow. You got an all-time 9?
I do. And with every chapter, there's a sneaky Hembo trivia question with a sort of loose caricature of my face. They definitely cleaned up my hairline nicely, which I appreciate. Although I do look like I have jaundice, but I'll take that up with the publisher. But the idea here is that we've settled some sports arguments. Obviously, if you listen to this show, you love baseball. Baseball is disproportionately well represented in this book, I can assure you. If you guys don't have a copy yet, I don't remember if I sent you one, but if not, I'll definitely send you a signed copy ASAP. And I very much appreciate the plug. I think you'll love it. And you got to let me know what your biggest objection is too.
Well, send me the book and we will plug it. We'll be at the winter meetings, spring training. I'll plug. Well, actually, make sure you get it to us by the winter meetings, because the one thing that I always like to talk about is, for a lot of people out there, you're like, what do I give so-and-so for Christmas, right? People, right? You're always like, what do I give? And that's what I've talked about over the years. Because as you said, people watch this show or listen to this show are big baseball fans. And you're wondering, like, I got this buddy at the office. I got this family member. What's a great book? Well, I think I have my stocking stuffer. You get it to me and let me get to Dallas for the winter meetings and put that on the desk, and we'll promote the heck out of it.
You're a good man. This is going to cost you $15. Chapter 18, the greatest Game 7 performances across sports. We have each of the top 7. You'll find Bill Mazeroski hitting the walk-off in 1960. You'll find Jack Morris in the 1991 World Series. You'll find Sandy Koufax in the 1965 World Series. Look, if you're a fan of sports history, you've come to the right place. I'm only 34 years old, but I act like I'm 134. I love this stuff. You guys love this stuff. I think you'll really like it. I very much appreciate the platform.
How far will the Lakers go with the Bronnies? How far?
They'll be the most talked about 34 and 48 basketball team in the history of the NBA. Bronny's not even going to have stats.
That report about the WNBA, about the 40 million, and they're worried, investors are worried. And I have a buddy whose wife is prominent in women's college basketball. If you take that league overall, it has lost probably close to $1 billion.
Yeah, from day one, it has struggled considerably. It's not my opinion; it's a statement of fact. You can look up the numbers, but mercifully, they've stumbled upon the best thing that could ever happen to them in the form of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And look, I'm an ESPN guy. My expectation is that the sport continues to ascend. At least in my little world, it's become a pretty big deal. Here in New York, they just won the championship. There was a ticker tape parade. Everyone seems to love them. So my hope is that the league continues to thrive and that they've gotten past those, sort of sluggish early days in their history. And I think because Caitlin Clark's a generational star who can be the face of the league, I think they've done that.
You got the Dodgers win this thing?
I have the Dodgers in 7. In the end, the Dodgers lineup is better than the Yankees, and the Yankees pitching staff is better than the Dodgers, but only by a little bit. The difference between the first is greater than the difference between the second. And for that reason, because I believe it to be a high-scoring series, I'm going Dodgers in 7 with Max Muncy at 10-1 to be my MVP.
Well, enjoy Taylor Swift and the Chiefs, my friend.
You're a good man.
Hey, we'll promote the heck out of it. You know how much we love you. Continued success, what you're doing at ESPN, and we'll talk soon.
You're a good man.
The great Hembo, Paul Hembekides from ESPN. He and Greeny putting out another book, and then you get to promote it every morning on the show Get Up. Now, if you're up early in the morning, you get to see their show on ESPN. It's the morning show. You don't think they're printing money with that stuff? They can put out any book and boop every morning on ESPN.
Plus, they were just on. I want to say they were just on Good Morning America again.
I mean,
because
it's ABC.
Yes, good for them.
Disney.
Yeah.
It's good for us to get him because he's the big date. Like all the stuff you're hearing on Sunday Night Baseball, the stuff you're getting on Monday Night Football a lot is coming from Hembo, and then of course all the stuff they do on the morning show there, Get Up. So, Hembekides, that guy's a star. And ESPN, he had a chance. I don't want to get into his business, but they made sure to retain his services.
Smart. Yeah. And he won chalk and picked the Dodgers in 7. So, like Johnny D.
We have predictions. You got to change your prediction because I have my prediction, which is legitimate. You're just going pure shock jock value.
Well, I originally gave you what my original prediction was, and then
you got to go back to that.
Yeah.
Then
in the text thread that we were in, I saw Johnny's. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go scorched earth and just completely burn Johnny's take to the ground.
Yeah, you have a team said winning in 3 because they won't even have a 4th game because it's such a bloodbath.
Well, no, it's actually said the Dodgers are going to win. It's a winner-take-all game tonight. You don't need to play the rest of the World Series.
It's a one-game series. We're just going to end it tonight. Just going to absolutely end it tonight. Wow, $658 million.
I did the math. That's $47 million per year. It's a lot of money for a guy that can't really play. I know he's a Gold Glove nominee in right field, but is he really that good at defense?
Well, I said with Ohtani and his money, it makes sense because of the money that you make from him.
Yes, 100%.
My whole if once we start talking about these dollar values that are so crazy. See, years ago, we based everything off attendance. But now we know that attendance really isn't the hugest driver of money, right? And then cable deals were a big driver, but now cable, how do you make money off of a player? And we're seeing through Shohei Ohtani that the business that you get from overseas because of where he's from and what he generates domestically and internationally, you can kind of see, well, all the advertising money, all the different ways you can monetize him, it makes sense. But a foreign-born player from the Caribbean cannot bring you that. You're not going into the Dominican and making money. So it's like, what is just a good baseball player and his stats worth when he's not in it? Like soccer players are one of the greatest examples.
Yeah, like look at Messi or Beckham.
Soccer players,
Ronaldo,
make you money everywhere, right? These soccer players are global brands. Like, I don't know is Juan Soto a global brand? No. You're basically paying for performance. To where Shohei Ohtani, you're paying for a global brand. Mike Trout, that's domestic. You're just paying for stats. What does Mike Trout really bring you from a standpoint of making money? He doesn't.
And he doesn't play a lot either.
But
now
the whole point is like, well, he generates ticket revenue. Okay, there's a lot there. But I mean, what does it and you used to like with A-Rod, right? If you remember A-Rod, when A-Rod left Seattle to go to Texas, his whole thing, and Scott Boras and Hicks, Tom Hicks was the owner then. The whole thing was what you're seeing now, Texas's vision was to build a baseball. It never really came about, but they wanted to build a baseball world there, right? Jerry Jones's the Death, they don't call it the Death Star. What do they call that? Jerry's World.
Jerry's World, yeah.
The Cowboys Stadium wasn't there yet. The Rangers wanted to build a ballpark village or whatever you want to call it. Now they have their stadium in Texas Live there, but they wanted to build this whole thing, and A-Rod was going to be the centerpiece, right? So the reason why they're paying A-Rod, it was $252 million or whatever it was.
Sounds all right.
Was because they were going to build this baseball world. It was more than just having season ticket holders. Season ticket holders, you're awesome, but you don't drive the bus like you thought you did, right? It's the economic value from all these bigger things that A-Rod was going to bring you, right? You want to sign players because it helped generate the next cable deal. Look how many people are interested, right? Well, things have changed a lot. So you want to pay Juan Soto $658 million. Okay, that's great. That's your money. Do what you want. Is he worth it?
In terms of Shohei Ohtani?
Because Juan Soto's not bringing the international money. He's not going to be, is Juan Soto really going to be somebody? Is Juan Soto going to be a spokesperson? Is he bringing you like LeBron James, Tom Brady type? I highly doubt it. He's not going to be, as they say, Madison Avenue.
No, and
you're paying for him to walk and hit some home runs.
I essentially asked you this and a bunch of people this during the Yankees-Guardians series when it was going on. Game 1, I said, what player would you rather have right now, Juan Soto or Jose Ramirez? And I think the overwhelming majority said they'd rather have Jose Ramirez. But we're talking about a guy that's going to get $47 million, according to Hembo, $47 million a year. I get it. He collects stats, but he's not. What is your ROI? His return on, now, see, I work with you too long now. I'm talking about ROIs and CDs will be next, but it's your return on investment. What are you getting out of him? Like if they win the World Series this year, great. But if they don't, it took them 16 years to get back there. When's the next time they get back if they keep Soto?
I like having Aaron Judge though.
So that helps, yeah.
Aaron Judge to me is a guy that, you're talking, look at, he's the biggest human being ever to play baseball, right? You can sell Aaron Judge. You can sell him. He's a big dude. He's a good guy. You can sell him. We know nothing about Ohtani, but Ohtani can sell because he's the greatest Japanese player, greatest skill set we've ever seen.
There's a good stat about him too. I think he'd be only the second Japanese player to hit a home run in the World Series behind Hideki Matsui. I'm pretty sure that's
Matsui, who was the MVP for the Yankees, right?
I think
in 2009,
4 in that World Series. I think 2009. Yeah.
Here was an interesting question. Top 3 you would want right now. You want Soto, Judge, or Stanton, or do you want Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman? Freeman playing on a bum leg.
The latter. Freeman, Betts, and Ohtani.
Over Stanton, who's red hot.
Are you talking about right? Oh, we're talking about right now. Oh, right now.
Today.
Oh,
we got a game
right
today.
now. You're taking the Yankees, guys.
Right? I would have to agree.
Because if you're talking about longevity, next couple
I'm
years,
talking about today.
Because you don't know what
series today.
Because you don't know what you're getting out of Stanton long term. But yeah, right now you're taking the Yankees, guys. Because Stanton's been unbelievable. The ALCS, what he did to Cleveland by himself.
And
he essentially ruined one of the greatest reliever seasons by Emmanuel Clase ever with the home run. Him and Judge both hitting the home runs.
And by the way, obviously the past does not matter. What matters is today. But Stanton going back home has done real well from his time being in the National League.
Yeah.
He sees the ball well at Dodger Stadium. Now, something that, we talk about, it's about today. Only thing that matters is today. Baseball loves to talk about everything. The game 1 winner has won 75 of the prior 119 World Series. That's 63%. But it gets way more than that. The trend lately, last 29 World Series, game 1 winner won 23 of 29. It is amazing. You win game 1, how much that just vaults you the percentages into winning it all. 23 of the last 29. So it gets you in, and I can't wait to tell when we have them Forst.
2:30.
The whole thing of how do you win in tournament baseball versus you know what the great thing about tournament baseball is? Because there's the baseball people who go, I don't like the fact that we play the game one way and then we got to play it in the Hey, here's the reality. You guys all want to make that big money? You got to have television. So this is set up around television. But you know what? It's about today. How do you play today? It's a sport. And how do you play today? All your numbers, all your data, all that. The data says certain guys won't be MVPs, but they will be MVPs. Certain guys that, we're going to talk about the stars, but as you saw in the National League Championship Series, a star did not win the NLCS MVP.
Shout out Tommy Edman. Proud of Stanford.
So it's about how do you function in the moment? How do you play in the moment? We are a game that loves to talk about trends. Our game is all about averages and percentages and front offices trying to manipulate all of these numbers, and all of that does not matter. It's how you play today. You can't manipulate the numbers when you have to win one game. You can't. You can try. That's why they hate it. They hate it because they feel like, let's just take a stretch, or I have 3 in Seattle, and then I have 3 in Minnesota, and then I have 3 in Milwaukee, and I'm looking at their team, and we're looking at all these trends because of sports play. All that gets thrown out the window. All their data so much of it gets thrown out the window. It's how you play today. How are you going to do it today? And one thing I want to get into to David Forst, because I feel like I saw this. I wasn't there, but watching it, I almost feel that Stephen Vogt and the Guardians had a little panic. They always felt a little panic. They got with Detroit, they got through it, but with the Yankees, it's just there is something that you have to understand. Now, I will ask David this because David and I, neither one of us has ever been in the dugout during the game. You're not allowed. But I've been on the sidelines of many NFL games. And I can tell you that whole Ray Lewis momentum is real. It is. Whether it's good or bad, the sideline senses euphoria or doom and gloom. Everybody senses it. The players, the coaches, the trainers, the idiot sideline guy like me with the mic. You knew things are going good or bad. Stephen Vogt just always popping out of the dugout and it always felt like they were like, oh God. They're, to me, managing in the playoffs. I understand the high leverage and everything, but at some point, what are you showing? Are you showing a little panic? And eventually you wore your guy. Cleveland's guys were wore out at the end. I mean, look at Clase. You're talking about as Mason Miller. Congratulations to Mason Miller once again, Sporting News Rookie of the Year. A great honor. Clase looked done. He got hammered. He was done. And also what it shows you is how they don't want to expose their starters during the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want our starters going through a third time. Well, in the postseason, you start going to your relievers so much, you're exposing them. These same lineups are seeing the same relievers over and over and over again. There's no surprise. How about Clase's numbers? He got torched.
Yeah.
This guy had a phenomenal. He's going to get Cy Young votes. He'll probably get some MVP votes. He had a phenomenal year. By the time he got out there for the postseason and votes going to him over and over, he was done.
Going into Game 5, the Guardians bullpen, the relievers accounted for 62.4% of their innings in the postseason. Only 2 times, because I tie this into what the Dodgers are doing, only 2 times in the past decade has a team won the World Series when their inning 50% or more of their innings came from the relievers. It was the Braves in 21 and then the Dodgers in 2020 during the COVID season. They did it. So the Dodgers right now, I did the math. I think
wait. Say that again.
Only 2 teams over the past decade, a time in which a team has increasingly relied on relievers. Only 2 have won the World Series when their relievers have thrown more than 50% of their innings.
Okay, the 2020, you got to throw out because that's COVID. It was bizarre.
Yeah.
The pitching was different. You got to throw that out, right? And the Dodgers had the advantage. They played all their games in Arlington. No one was pushing their starters. So you have basically the Braves that did it one time.
Yeah, 53.8% the following year in 2021.
But look what you're saying. So Cleveland bullpen pitched 63% of their innings in the postseason.
Just about.
So you're going against your own theories of exposing guys over and over again. Now, I could do that maybe. Work with me here. In the regular season, I'm playing a team 3 times, right? Sometimes we have some 4-game sets, but usually I'm playing you 3 games and then we move on to other teams. In a 5-game, 7-game series, if you're exposing your bullpen guys to the same hitters over and over and over, 63% of the time, where is that fresh, you haven't seen me? So all these relievers, we've established that what they like to do to hitters is they like just throwing different looks at them. That has been a big success in baseball because every right-hander is different, right? Whether I'm tall, I'm short, I throw hard, I come from the side, I got a lot of sink, I'm throwing sweepers, and then from the left side, I'm giving you always different looks, right? And well, now all of a sudden, if I'm throwing the same relievers at you, game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, that freshness, newness has worn off, and now my hitters have seen the same guy. So you're going against these front offices, because it is the front offices, folks. The managers are doing what they want. You're going against this whole, I'm going to trick you during the regular season with all these relievers, to now I'm trying to use that same philosophy in the postseason, and you're not tricking me anymore because I've seen these guys. And a lot of these guys are 2-pitch pitchers. So I know what you got. And, man, how many times have you seen this postseason guys coming out of the bullpen still with really good velocity getting hammered because the hitters they're used to the look. They're used to seeing these guys. And as I mentioned, with all these days off, these hitters are fresh. By the way, this speaks major volumes, folks. Usually at postseason, we always talked about how the war of attrition and these guys are – Dodgers have had – going into this series, Dodgers have had 14 days off. Yankees have had 16. Both of them got that early bye. Both of them have, they've gone through the postseason. Never once, other than Freddie Freeman, Rizzo's got the bad hand. That's different. Freeman's they got injuries. These hitters look fresh, and if you're showing the same relievers who are coming in with basically maybe 2 pitches, their third pitch isn't going to be great. You're showing them the same look over and over. Remember, they've got virtual reality. They've got all the video. There's no surprises when you're playing the same team in X amount of games. These hitters are so prepared to see what you got coming out of the bullpen, and that's what it gets back to. Remember, your best pitchers really are your starters.
I mean, it's true, yes.
I mean, watching, the great Fernando Valenzuela, was so sad to hear that he passed. I lived that Fernando mania. I saw it growing up when Dodger fans would actually take over Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego. It was called Jack Murphy back then. It would be all Dodger fans and Fernando Valenzuela, a Mexican-born player. And you think of all the people in Southern California, so many Latinos in Southern California, and it was a huge – Fernando mania was huge. And he was incredible, man. I was a little kid, and you're at this game, and you're watching him with the eyes, and then the screwball. Fernando was awesome. So, R.I.P. for the great Fernando Valenzuela. He was unbelievable. He was a great athlete too, by the way. People don't know this. He was like a scratch golfer. He was a pretty good hitter. Fernando Valenzuela bounced around with a lot of teams and playing for the Padres too. Fernando Valenzuela, unbelievable. Where was I going with this again? I got on. Seeing the same picture. Yeah. So we're seeing Fernando, and what reminded me when we're seeing all these Dodgers, Yankees highlights of the old days, you're seeing guys throw complete games. I'm not asking for complete games, but man, if I can get Garrett Cole or if I can get Rodon to give me innings, and the Dodgers pitchers, if you want me to give you a formula of how the Yankees win this thing, yeah, it's great, all these bullpen numbers for the Dodgers. But that's when you throw so many bullpen guys, remember, it takes one to screw it up.
Yeah, and the Dodgers are using their bullpen, I think it's 58.8% of the time right
They
now.
have to,
yeah.
And it's worked for them. But
I broke the news to you when I got here that Evan Phillips is off the World Series roster.
He's pitched 5 or 6 games and hasn't been scored upon. He's on the roster.
Yeah.
Is this overthinking it?
Hudson, Banda, Kopech, Phillips, Blake Trinan, and Alex Vesia have combined to throw 32 postseason innings, which they've only allowed 3 earned runs, and most of those came in Game 6 of the NLCS against the Mets. So Phillips off, Brusdar Gratterall on.
Who hasn't played all year long.
He hasn't pitched since September. He hasn't pitched since September 24th, so a month ago. This is the last time. Going.
Lineups are here. Hold on. Lineups are here. But the guy on there who I want to say I'm really happy for because he's a super guy. We got to know him. He had one of the greatest years a pitcher has ever had, and not only in an A's uniform, but in any uniform. And he's been throwing like he did back with the A's, is Blake Trinan.
Yeah, what do we call it? A turbo sinker is what he throws essentially. I mean, he's been awesome.
It's really been the sliders.
Yeah.
Man. It's Blake Trinan. Good for him. It threw me the World Series Game 1 lineups.
Wow. He got led astray. Run amok.
No,
flat out
it's got to be here somewhere because they got to show us all the damn video. I don't care. Where's the damn lineup? Oh, here we go.
Oh, wow.
Glaber's going to lead off. Soto second. Judge third. Stanton. Chisholm hitting 5th, playing 3rd. He hasn't hit yet.
No.
But he's actually played pretty good third base.
Actually. I'll give him credit for
that. Rizzo with the bad hand. Volpe, Wells, Verdugo. By the way, we're going to get into we've polled our broadcasters and we've polled some of our A's Cast callers. The best one is, I got to tell you, of course, it's George from San Francisco.
It is pretty good.
George from San Francisco never disappoints because my question to everybody is who wins the World Series, who's the MVP, and then who gets blamed for the loss. Ooh.
You didn't like mine?
Ooh. George in San Francisco's. I'm just going to George in San Francisco has predicted the Dodgers, and Verdugo will get the blame for the Yankees losing for not having enough bling bling. Who thinks of that?
I mean, it's pretty good.
George in San Francisco. By the way, George in San Francisco has been scouting the Pacific Rim this offseason. We got to tell David Forst, he recently sent me a list of 5 Japanese pitchers that the Asia. I think George is right. If you're looking how much Japan loves American baseball and how much money is over there, David Forst and you got to tap in a little bit more to it. Now, Shintaro didn't deliver the goods, but I would go back over and find some Japanese players.
Yeah, I mean, the second best free agent, could be Roki Sasaki, who's the 21-year-old kid, or I think he's 22 now. Kid's unbelievable what he's done in Japan. So he'll probably be the next guy after Soto when you look at free agents. But back to the World Series lineups. Dodgers
leading off Shohei Ohtani. Then it goes Betts, Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Muncy 1.0, Max Muncy 2.0 is with the A's. Muncy batting 5th, playing 3rd. Kike Hernandez is in center field. The versatility of the Dodgers is amazing. Hernandez center field. Will Smith, not going to slap Chris Rock. This is a different Will Smith. He'll
not the Shark Center that they're already playing load management with, who's a rookie.
Summertime.
Yeah, there you go.
Not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air will be hitting 7th behind the dish. Your favorite player of all time, you said the Dodgers could never get rid of him because he was so valuable. Gavin Lux will hit 8th at second base. And then the National League Championship Series MVP, Tommy Edman, who traded to the Dodgers. No one said that was that big of a deal.
And because he was hurt.
But his value, the Stanford Cardinal has shown tremendous value, and he will bat 9th playing shortstop.
What I was going to get at with pitching, Garrett Cole pitched starting tonight. Garrett Cole's had 9 days off since his last start. 9. Jack Flaherty's had 6, and the last time he had 6 days off, he pitched really well. It was a game where he won 7 innings. But Dodgers pitchers don't go deep. So you're expecting maybe one of these guys will go deep. You think it'd be Cole after making all the money and having 9 days off. But it'll be interesting because will Aaron Boone have a short hook or Cole have a short hook go to the bull? He doesn't tend to go to the relievers as quick as Dave Roberts does.
After what we have seen, it's hard to say that offense has hurt from the layoff. I think they look fresh. It's a tough season. You're on your feet. You're working out all year long. It's a grind. And all of a sudden you get a few days off. And all you got to do is a little BP, maybe lift a little bit. What we have seen from these two lineups, guys don't look banged up. That's one thing that I've noticed. Like in that Yankee series, Yankee hitters look fresh and Cleveland looked exhausted.
Well, yeah, they had to battle the way through a 5-game series with Detroit.
San Diego looked exhausted those last 2 games.
Yeah.
They didn't score. Their players looked exhausted. I mean, the Dodgers have had so much time off. And then I had to look at the Yankees. And then the Yankees, they've had so much time off that all of a sudden, I mean, let's face it, your guy Mike Stanton, I guess I'll call him Giancarlo, has always looked banged up in the postseason. He doesn't. He looks fresh.
That's why he's hitting balls, as we say, nukes out of the ballpark.
He's the ALCS MVP. Like, he always came in. Like, didn't it always seem like the Yankees, he was always battling? He's got a thigh problem. He's got a hamstring problem. Giancarlo looks fresh. Judge looks fresh. Soto they all look fresh. I mean, the days off, I think, have been great for them. And I think the days off for the pitching, I know in baseball, we like to say we want them to play every day. I think the days off have been good for everybody.
I agree. And with Stanton, the only thing with Stanton that's really driving me up a wall is he's been great in the postseason, but now it's coming around Giancarlo Stanton's a Hall of Famer. Are we really just going to start putting everyone in? I mean, I love Stanton in the home runs. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's when I think of the Hall of Fame, I don't really think of Giancarlo. Sorry. Hall of really good.
Oh, wow. I've been taking photos of all the MLB Network does. Okay, well, let's face it. I understand at this time of the year, no one's watching MLB Network. Everybody's watching football. I get it. I'm watching it. So what I like to do, they put up great graphics and I take pictures. of these graphics. So since you went there, I want to go here because they broke down series with the most Hall of Famers. So in 1932, the Yankees and the Cubs played. Yankees had 9 Hall of Famers. The Cubs had 4. That's a total of 13 in 1932.
Can I name any of the Cubs players? Well, I think that's too early for Ernie Banks. So he's probably Hack Wilson.
I don't know who's on the 1932 Cubs.
I just want to see this.
Who are the 4 Hall of Famers on the 1932 Cubs?
Yeah, I don't know who.
Go down, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know any of these guys. Don't know any of them. I don't see Hack Wilson on here.
There's Stan Hack.
Oh boy,
I have no idea. So then in 1928, there was 11 total Hall of Famers in the Yankees Cardinals. 1926, there was 11 with the Yankees and the Cardinals. Then in 1956, there was the Yankees and the Dodgers had 10. 1953, Yankees and Dodgers had 10. 1938, Yankees and Cubs had 10. 1936, the Yankees and the New York Giants had 10. And then in 1924, you had the Nationals, the Washington Nationals, up against the New York Giants. They had 10.
Is that Walter Johnson?
That's got to be Walter Johnson.
You mentioned the 56 World Series.
You know what? I'd go out and buy you dinner tonight if you could name. It's got to be Walter Johnson. And if you could name me either 2 of the other guys, I'd buy you dinner tonight.
1924. Well, I'm just going to look, see what it is. But real quick, you mentioned the 56 World Series. That's the last time prior to tonight that you'll have the home run champions in each league facing off. It was Duke Snider and Mickey Mantle.
This is another thing that I took. So here you go. The 2 biggest stars meeting in the World Series. This to me was fascinating. 1946, Ted Williams against Stan Musial.
Okay, that's big.
How good is that? Then we go to 1957. This is Henry Aaron against Mickey Mantle, and Henry Aaron lit up the Yankees. Hammer and Hank. 1968, you want to talk about changing baseball. We got to lower the mound. Denny McClain of the Tigers up against Bob Gibson. And then one of my favorites, because my favorite player of all time, I was a kid. I was 8 years old. 1980, George Brett against Michael Jack Schmidt. Michael Jack Schmidt would win the MVP in 80 and 81. So the 2 great third basemen of all time. I mean, yeah, Ohtani and Judge. This is great for our sport. I mean, I hate the Yankees. I hate the Dodgers. This is great for our sport. We have star power going to be on the field. And honestly, as a baseball guy, I can't wait to watch it.
It's crazy. You're saying, like, obviously it's correct. It's Soto and Judge are the stars. Mookie Betts, who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Mookie Betts.
It's an afterthought.
So MLB notes have come out. And the other day I was reading the notes and I could not believe it. Hadn't thought about first. So in modern day baseball, I can't remember the actual year they had, but they had for the first 11 years of a career, top wars. Actually, you know what? I can find it because I think it was in yesterday's. I already told you number 1. Do you remember what I told you 1 and 2?
First 11 years? Has to be Babe Ruth.
No, modern day baseball.
Oh, modern day. Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols was ahead of Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
Because your boy Super Barry had
people forget Barry was really good with the Pirates.
Well, he won 3 MVPs,
yeah,
but
really
he wasn't Super Barry.
No, he was still in bases still at the Pirates.
There's one name on here.
I do got your list of 4 Nationals Hall of Famers we can get to. It's not Strasburg and Soto.
Wait, what?
Left fielder Goose Goslin.
Okay, I've actually heard of him.
Manager Bucky Harris, Walter Johnson, and Sam Rice with the 4 Nats in 1924. Yeah, I would never got any of them besides Walter Johnson.
God, where is this? I had it yesterday. First 11 years, because the list was like.
See, I can Google it.
This is in the MLB note, but I can give it to you. All right, so I know on there, the biggest surprise to me was Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs was up there. It's A-Rod, First 11 years, it was, I know Pujols was number 1, Bonds was number 2, A-Rod was up there, Wade Boggs was up there. But the two that were next to each other, Ricky Henderson and
I got it.
Mookie Betts.
I just searched it in the notes from yesterday.
Oh, yeah, Griffey's there, A-Rod. Yeah, Wade Boggs, Schmidt, Trout. But how about that? We think about how great this guy is, right? Nobody in the history of baseball. What's the number one thing you do in baseball?
Score runs.
Nobody has touched home plate more than this guy in the history of baseball. It's my friend, Ricky Henderson. Ricky and I will always go down as the two guys that ate steak together at the Comerica thing. Ricky Henderson and Mookie Betts basically have the identical WAR for the first 11 years. Now, as an A's fan, and knowing the greatness of Ricky Henderson's one of the greatest players of all time. That is not deniable. You cannot, if we're going to have a conversation, I don't know who the greatest player is of all time. I don't know. It's a debate.
It is, for sure.
Right? It's a debate. Eras and all that kind of stuff, pretty tough when you've played for well over 100 years. All I know is Ricky Henderson will have a seat at that table of the conversation. I don't think he comes out as the greatest player of all time, but he'll at least be talked about. Well, if I'm going to say that about this guy, and Mookie Betts has the same WAR as him, now WAR has a lot to do with, right? They have a lot goes on.
Is this their B WAR or F WAR?
I think it's B WAR, but it's defense. It's how you run the bases. It's all this kind of stuff. If Ricky Henderson and Mookie Betts are basically tied after 11 years, that tells you a lot about how great Mookie Betts is.
Yeah, I mean, Mookie's ahead of Cal Ripken.
Who?
Yeah, I mean, what did Ripken ever win? I mean, it's an incredible list. I mean, Pujols, I mean, the height of his powers, he was great. So, I mean, obviously Barry. Trout hasn't won anything, but he's been great.
Funny thing is, Barry's not Super Barry yet.
No.
You know, he's starting to be Super Barry. Wait, what year did Barry get in? 87?
Yes, that was his first year.
So 11 years into his career, he's about to become Super Barry at this point.
Actually, 86 was his first year. He played 113 games.
Where was he at after 11 years? Where 11 years in the league is he's with the Giants by then.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see if he could do his WAR. Yeah, 96 would have been his 11th season. Yeah, 83.6 WAR.
Okay, so Barry Bonds, according to the Game of Shadows, which was, if you remember, was the book. It was Lance Williams and Mark Fainaru-Wada. They were the two investigative reporters for the San Francisco Chronicle. There was the whole thing about Balco and San Ramon. They're not sports guys. They went down to investigate, and they found all this stuff. Now, what was funny, I was working at KMBR at the time, and I was actually on the morning show with Gary Radnich, and I was like, hey, we've had this raid. The ATF has raided that. I remember we were reporting about it really early. But the funny thing is that hack Homer Giant fans tried to claim that this award-winning book was a fraud because these were just jilted sports writers that Barry Bonds was a jerk to. Barry Bonds is an ass, and they're just mad at him. That's even though this whole book is telling you about all the athletes, the Olympic athletes, the football players, Giant fans believe the Bond stuff wasn't true because they were jilted sports writers. And you're like, man, you guys are a bunch of dummies because Lance Williams and Mark Fainaru-Wada were investigative reporters for the Chronicle. Their beat was crime. Their, issues, social issues, crime issues. Their issues weren't sports. They weren't sports writers. So when they stumbled onto this story, they didn't know it had to deal with sports. They just knew the ATF was raiding this thing called Balco Laboratories in San Mateo. In San Mateo, right? This wasn't a sports thing. So when they wrote this book, and I had both of them on, remember all the athletes that said they were going to go after him? And I remember it was Lance Williams. I was on KMBR at the time. We had him on the show. And he said, go ahead, come after us. All of our sources have been vetted. I challenge anybody to come after us. And not one athlete that was mentioned in the Game of Shadows ever sued him. Not one. Bonds talked a big deal, never went after him because they were all dirty. They were all doing it, right? And then all of a sudden, Barry Bonds is going up there, federal grand jury, and he admitted to taking it, even though he said he didn't know it was steroids. He admitted to taking it, so he did take it.
A-Rod said it was a loosey-goosey era.
So these guys were bulletproof. Bonds, it's really in 98, if I remember correctly. It's 97 or 98 is when Bonds starts taking anabolic steroids before he'd go to Victor Conte. So what we're seeing with Bonds is, as I mentioned, he's not Super Barry yet.
No, his first 11 years, he had 334 home runs, 993 runs driven in, 380 steals. He's a 288 hitter, and he had a 952 OPS.
He's a three-time MVP. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But that just shows you, once again, how good Mookie Betts has been. Taking it back to what we're talking about World Series, is Mookie Betts, the fact that this top war with the greats of the greats, yeah, and this Mookie Betts guy is pretty special.
Then you look at Bonds after that. He had 428 home runs.
This is Super Barry. 1,003
RBIs, 311 batting average, and a 1,173 OPS, and an OPS plus of, wait for it, 205. League average is 100. He was 105 points better than league average.
Super Barry was incredible. There's no question about it.
I was trying to look at comparing the first 11 years of Mookie and Ricky. Obviously, Mookie has more home runs. Ricky had way more steals. Batting average pretty comparable. It's like 4-point difference. OPS, Mookie hasn't beat there, but I mean, games played, Ricky did. So, I mean, I can see why they're kind of comparable. I mean, Ricky in his first 11 years had 871 steals. Mookie has 188.
Yeah, but Mookie hits bombs.
Yeah, Mookie has 271. Ricky had 138 through his first 11 seasons.
But that's what's good about WAR, is that you can take two players that maybe have some different styles, but you can look at them and compare their numbers, their value to winning, their value to their team, right? One's a left fielder, the other's a right fielder. Well, he's a little bit of a shortstop, but I mean, it just shows you that, yeah, in this World Series, there's no question Aaron Judge is going to be a Hall of Famer. There is no question. Aaron Judge, when it's all said and done, will be a Hall of Famer. Juan Soto, when it's all said and done, will be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Hall of Famer. Mookie Betts is going to be a Hall of Famer. Freddie Freeman is going to be a Hall of Famer.
That's 5.
Now, everybody else you start throwing at me, I go, well, I can pick at. I can.
We're talking about active players. You don't think Kershaw's a Hall of Famer?
He's on the roster.
That's what I'm saying we're talking active players. So yeah.
Who? Clayton who?
Yeah.
He's still around? Yes, obviously Kershaw.
Hey, did you know
Kershaw's not on the roster?
Did you know he played high school baseball with Matt Stafford?
Oh my
God. I heard that so many times last night.
Oh my God. We get it. Uncle. We get it. Yes, Clayton Kershaw will be a first ballot Hall of Fame, but we're not counting. He's not on the roster.
So Stanton's a guy you don't have in. I'm with you.
The games played, the injuries, I just.
I don't think there was anyone else on the Dodgers. Probably not. No, definitely not.
No, you're not going Gavin Lux? You said he was an untouchable prospect.
If Kenley was still their closer, I'd say maybe, but he's not there, obviously.
I don't know how people say Garrett Cole is.
I think I texted when we were talking about it, I said he might be in the end because we're going to look at pitching differently when he goes.
Whoa. We're not even putting in Kurt Schilling.
How we both feel on that.
Doesn't matter. You're not. Kurt Schilling has over 200 wins. He's an 11-2 career in the postseason. He's not in, and you're putting in Garrett Cole.
How many big games has Garrett Cole won?
0.
Yeah.
I don't know how. People are Garrett Cole's. I'm aghast by the Garrett Cole being a Hall of Famer. Guy has 150 wins. Okay, you don't care about wins? Well, what great milestones, if he doesn't have wins, what milestones is he at?
If you look right now, he started 317 games. He's a 43.3 3 WAR. So he's
Not
trending towards 60.
But look at his age.
He's 34.
Yeah, it's not like he's young.
He'll probably get the 3,000 strikeouts. He's at 2,251, so you figure he can get another 700.
But everybody strikes out now, so that's not the same accomplishment.
He'll be at 2,000 innings after next year. Well, beginning of next year. But yeah, I mean, career 3.18 ERA. I mean, he's been good. I mean, I'm a little jaded because he was a Pirate, but he was good in Houston too. But yeah, I mean, I think just looking at, he's one of the guys. He's going to be the first case study, I think, of the guys that pitch in the more recent, like 15, 20 years that we're going to look at differently because of what he's done and how pitching's been different. We're not looking at the innings pitched. The longevity isn't as important as it was with guys back in the day.
You're going to make me go all Dave Stewart on you right now.
So is this going back to where Stu and I were going out with Zach Greinke?
Bobby Welch. 211 wins with a 3.47 ERA. 462 starts. How many starts does your boy Cole have?
317.
Mm-hmm. He's not even going to sniff that. Bob Welch has a Cy Young.
Cole has one.
All right. So tell me where Garrett Cole is a better Hall of Fame case than Bob Welch.
I'm going to do, this is why I love SAT. I'm going to do the side by side to see what SAThead says about it on Baseball Reference. Just comparing them two. This is putting all their numbers together. Welch hasn't beaten a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm just picking him. Like, don't even make me go Kurt Schilling. I'll blow you away.
Their WAR is pretty similar, though, and Cole's only 0.4 behind.
Tommy John's not in the Hall of Fame. He's got 288 wins.
And 188 no decisions.
I mean, how can you say, and I'm not being a hater here, how can you honestly say, Garrett, these people are like throwing out the Hall, like, can we at least get back to making it hard to be in the Hall? It's supposed to be something that's really incredible. I'm pulling up all 4 guys now. Wait, when's David Forst coming up at 2:30?
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we're going to have the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, David Forst, talking about, obviously, Mason Miller, his award with the Sporting News, going forward. We got a lot to talk about with the GM next right here on A's Cast Live.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good. If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the pennant race action and the upcoming NFL and college football seasons. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
There's a lot more than golf going on at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. Sure, there's 27 picturesque and challenging holes of golf, but there's so much more. Saturday, November 16th, it's their second murder mystery dinner, the most wonderful crime of the year. Come dressed in your best ugly Christmas sweater and enjoy an evening of fun, mystery, and delicious food. Reservations required. If you're in charge of the office holiday party, Cinnabar Hills is the perfect venue. And for new clients, book your party before November 30th and get $1,000 off the venue fee, minimum 50 guests. Getting married in 2025? Cinnabar Hills has dates available and they would love to host your special day. Book before December 31st and receive a complimentary chair upgrade for up to 150 people and complimentary cake cutting fee. There's a lot going on. The murder mystery dinner November 16th, your office holiday party, or the site of your perfect wedding. And the golf's pretty darn good, too. For more information, visit CinnabarHills.com. Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, Silicon Valley's premier golf and event destination.
You're listening to A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, it's been a while, and it's great to catch up to him. The Fall Classic is happening a little bit later today. Cannot wait. David Forst, the general manager of your athletics, is here. David, how are you?
Towny, what's up, man? I've seen Cody a bunch around the office. Where have you been?
They told me to take a break. They said, we want you to be away from the office. I've done it for you guys, because if I'm around, I'm asking too many questions. So they want me to stay away.
Yeah, we needed space. I get that.
We took time after that last show, because I know everybody remembers the last game at the Coliseum. But we still had a 3-game set, and there was that last one in Seattle. We took time off because we thought that we just all needed a little bit of a break, and we'd come back for the World Series. I think it was the right call. Just how's everything been for you and your staff? Because obviously the ending was very emotional.
It was, and even playing those last 3 games in Seattle didn't sort of feel like I won't say it didn't. Not that it didn't feel appropriate. It just felt like that last game at the Coliseum should have been the end of the season. So I wasn't surprised when our guys had a little bit of a letdown the last 3 days of the season. For us, it kind of has been business as usual. I would say, like, off season started that Monday. We kind of kicked into gear with all the stuff we do in October as far as personnel, contracts, salary stuff, starting to put together our off-season target lists and free agents. So it's weird. It feels like it was a long time ago that the season ended. It feels like we've done a lot of work since, but I know it was only a few weeks ago, and I know that the sort of emotions and just everything around that is still pretty raw for a lot of people.
Since you're the head of the organization and you think about everything that was going on around everybody, whether it's the front office, it's the manager, it's the coaching staff, it's the players. Now that you've had time to sit back, just how proud are you of the entire group, how everybody conducted themselves, how do they handle themselves, how they battled, they won more games from the year before. There was definitely progress. Just in the end, how proud were you of everybody that obviously that you control and your group?
Well, look, I'll say I didn't need the distance of the last few weeks to feel that way or to recognize what Mark and his staff and our players were able to accomplish. I think in the moment, in those last 6 games, particularly in the last day, I was kind of blown away by what our guys were able to do. I sat out there for a long time the last day in the morning, kind of watching things happen. I stayed down on the field a lot longer before the game than I would typically ever do, even sort of being around the dugout when Stu and Ricky went out there for the first pitch and all of our guys came out, and just even in the moment, seeing our guys be able to go about their work when there was so much emotion flying around them, and then to go out and win the game in the manner that we did, to come from behind, to hold on to the lead, for Mason to come on and close it out, and then ultimately for Mark to go out and kind of command the crowd the way he did. It was pretty unbelievable in the moment, and certainly the more I've seen it since, really proud of the way Mark handled himself and the club over that last stretch. So I think a lot of people remember that for a long time, and ultimately, hopefully, it turns into a positive memory about what was the last day at the Coliseum.
Tell you what, I'm super excited about next year. It's going to be a fresh start. Going to be a lot of happy people. I'm going to be excited for that. I'm excited for this team, what you have built and what you continue to build. Just talk about with the front office is now we turn the page and now we look forward. I mean, the great Dick Callahan was a friend of mine, and he always told me, Chris, your windshield mirror is bigger than your rear view mirror because your future is always more important than your past. It was one of the great things he ever told me. I'm excited going forward. Just what's it like, the energy for you guys going forward? Because now we're more in a building process. You've even talked about spending some money this offseason.
Yeah, and that's what we've been focused on the last month or so. It is exciting. I know you have this sort of balance too, like being excited about what the team looks like going forward and still sort of understanding what we're leaving behind and the way fans feel about us moving forward. So I do want to recognize that. But as far as the guys on the field, the team, the opportunities we have, I think internally we're all very excited about what we can do this offseason. And we do expect to spend some money. I don't know yet what free agency looks like for us. I obviously am not allowed to have those conversations until after the World Series. So we'll have to wait and see how the response is when we talk to players and agents about coming to Sacramento. We expect to be very involved in the trade market. Between Dan and I, we've talked to almost every other team in the last couple of weeks. So to set up those conversations, from the GM meetings on forward. And I think we're going to be able to build on what we did in 24 and continue to add to this roster to get to a place where we can compete for a playoff spot. That's where we need to be.
When you start thinking about how you add, what are some of the spots where you think, well, we would like to get a little better here?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, third base is always the spot that jumps out at us as sort of the most unsettled spot on the diamond from this past season. And that's not, not to knock any of the guys who got reps and ABs over there. But it's just a fact. It was the one place on the diamond where we shuffled a lot of guys through and aren't quite sure what the answer is going forward. So you've got Schumann and Hernandez and Harris as possibilities there. You've potentially have Max Muncy as an option there if Jacob's going to play shortstop. But the reality is we need to figure it out. So as we look out there, what's available, that's a spot we're keeping in mind. And not unlike every other offseason, pitching is at the top of our mind. And we did such a good job putting the rotation together this year. And JP continues to be the constant at the top of our rotation and the guy you can count on. And Beto and Spence and JT and Estes, all these guys did such a good job stepping up, essentially doing more on the major league stage than they'd ever been asked of before. So starting pitching, continuing to augment the bullpen is always going to be, a priority for us. But it is nice to sort of feel like the spots that I haven't mentioned, maybe there's an answer there that's going to be there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about. I love JJ Bleday, and we saw what Lawrence Butler can do, and Andujar, hopefully, with that surgery, going to come back strong. Rooker, he'll play some more outfield again. I mean, he's just got. I mean, there's talent. There is definitely talent, and that is definitely good to see. And sometimes, a position like third base, teams have won World Series by piecing it together in a spot, right? I mean, ideally you want to have a guy for every single spot,
Right.
but sometimes you can piece something together. So
it happens. Yeah, you don't get that ideal. I mean, look at the Dodgers. Tommy Edmonds playing shortstop for them right now. I don't think that was plan A when they left Arizona in March. So you have to be flexible. You have to have backup plans and be able to change on the fly. So yeah, I mean, are we going to figure out an answer for every spot between now and February? I doubt it. But at least we know what we're looking for, and we're excited about the ability, like I said, to add.
Mason Miller, Sporting News Rookie of the Year. How'd you feel about that when you heard about it?
Very, very proud of Mason. It's an honor to win any award. I wish I felt like he had a better chance at the Baseball Writers Rookie of the Year award, but I'm not quite sure it's going to go his way. But to be recognized in that way, after all of the talk of the last 12 months of between keeping him healthy, between is this the right thing to move him to the pen, and we've talked about numerous times how he just took that role and ran with it. So very, very happy for Mason.
And for me, when I think about the way starting pitching is today, a guy that can factor in way more games like a Mason Miller and a closer, maybe even be used more next year in that role. Is it safe to say that a guy like that can be more valuable than a guy that goes once every 5 days because he factors in so many more games?
He does, and the game has certainly changed a lot from the days when we felt like your starting 1 through 5 was the be all end all. Look, starting pitching is hard to find, and that's why we've evolved the way we have. Those guys are still incredibly valuable, and they're getting paid like they are incredibly valuable. That's why the guy starting for the Yankees tonight is making the kind of money that he is. But there's no doubt that the way we and everybody else uses their bullpen now, if you're a premium closer or setup guy or whatever, you have a chance to impact 60 to 70 games a year.
We talked over the years so much about building your team around the Coliseum. Now you're going to be playing up at Sutter Health. Have you crunched any numbers of how you think that ballpark will play versus what you've been used to as a home field advantage?
Yeah, well, let's be honest. I'm not crunching any numbers. Somebody is crunching those numbers for me.
Oh, don't tell me. That ruins it for me. I want to think you're the mastermind behind everything.
No, there's a lot smarter people around here to crunch numbers. So we have looked for sure. And it's interesting. Until you put a major league team in that environment, everything is sort of projection and speculation. What we do know about Sutter Health is that as it relates to the PCL, it's a pretty average ballpark. I mean, it's not Albuquerque, it's not Las Vegas. Colorado Springs isn't in the PCL anymore, but it's not Colorado Springs. So it has always played as a slight hitter's ballpark, but nothing compared to the rest of the PCL. Now, once we put major league players in there and the major league environment, we'll see. Right now, we're going to build a team that we think is the best in any environment. We knew the Coliseum well. We knew the kind of things that played here. It'll take us a little while at Sutter Health, but I think we should expect it to be pretty neutral until it proves otherwise.
When you talk about building a pitching staff, I just don't know how you do it in modern day. But you're going to use a ton of pitchers. What is the philosophy now? Because we don't go 1 through 5 anymore. You're going to use 10 plus guys. What is the philosophy? Bullpens are fickle year to year. What is the philosophy to building a modern day pitching staff in Major League Baseball?
Well, it's about covering innings. It's about, looking at health track records and seeing who's going to be out there for the long haul, as much as you look at performance and projections and, who has a chance to dominate. None of that matters if those guys aren't out there on the hill, if they're not healthy. So the medical staff is a huge part of any time we're talking about bringing in pitching. They did significant evaluations of our own guys at the end of the season so that we can try and project their health going forward. You cannot have a conversation about pitching without talking about who has the best chance to stay healthy, who has the highest quote risk grades out there. So it's not easy. You look at the Dodgers IL list right now and the guys that are on there, kudos to them for getting as far as they did, considering how much they're missing. I know their payroll covers up a lot of issues along the way, but they've lost a better rotation than some teams had at any point during the season.
It's like building a stable of horses, and you just need like X amount of horses. You're not sure who's going to be able to run the race today, but you just need it. It's like you need to have a full set of relievers and starters really in AAA. I mean, you got to have so many guys to try and cover that, as you said, cover all those innings.
Yeah, no, we saw how many guys we had to use this year, and the number of guys we brought up from AAA, and again, none of those outside of JP, none of the guys who finished the year in our rotation started it, and they did an outstanding job. Emo and Dan Hubbs did a great job of being flexible and working with different guys, but it's the hardest thing out there right now is to figure out how to keep the pitching staff you put together in November and December healthy into July and August.
How are the kids doing in the Arizona Fall League?
They're doing well. Yeah, it's been fun to watch from afar. I'm hoping to get down there at some point soon, either right before or right after the GM meetings. Denzel's swinging the bat great. Daniel Susak's putting up really good numbers. Henry's had some success, and we're hoping to see Nick Kurtz out there maybe today or tomorrow playing for the Mesa team. So that's been exciting. All our guys who are down there pitching have done a nice job. Walkinshaw has had some good outings. So it's been a good showing for the Fall League guys.
Now, we'll see you at the winter meetings in Dallas, but as you just mentioned, the GM meetings, I know they don't get a lot of press. You know, we got football going on. We got the start of basketball and hockey and everything. But those meetings are so crucial. That's where you guys get in rooms, have dinners, whatever, and you kind of really just tell everybody about how those meetings are. We talk, and it really sets up what happens later on.
It definitely does. It gets a little overshadowed just because it comes, right after the World Series is over. I think everybody wants a little break from baseball, and we head down there. But there's media, the agents are there. There are players around to meet with teams. But it is sort of where we sort of start the real conversations. I mentioned earlier, Dan and I sort of making the rounds right now, talking to all 29 of their clubs. And based on those phone calls, those conversations, we'll have in-person meetings at the GM meetings and talk directly about trades. We will meet with agents down there to lay the groundwork on free agent stuff. As we all know, that stuff doesn't get done, particularly from a free agency standpoint, until the winter meetings or even later in recent years. That timeline continues to move back further and further in the calendar. But the GM meetings are really where the conversations begin. There's obviously administrative stuff that takes place as well, and meeting with Major League Baseball and talking, whether it's about the CBA or Major League rules, things like that. Those things have to happen. But it is the best place to begin a conversation about acquiring players.
When you look at the World Series, how much of it will you watch?
I'll run into a few games. It's probably not a priority for me on my calendar the next week, but you can't avoid it. I'll see some highlights, but I don't have anything on my schedule tonight between drop off and pick up at soccer practice. So there's a window there to catch 5 or 6 innings.
Yeah. It's so interesting how we try and delve into the season, the grind, how you build teams, how you want your teams to perform. And then all of a sudden we get to a tournament style, to where tournament style is you've got to win today. Like, you don't necessarily have to win on a Tuesday 3-game set in Minnesota. You don't necessarily have to win on that day, but you get into the postseason, you've got to win today. It's about you don't have tomorrow.
Because of that, it has been fun to watch. I mean, I've seen a fair amount of the postseason. I've always said the years where you're not in the postseason, it is a little easier to watch because the emotions aren't as raw. There are definitely years when we've been knocked out in the first round or whatever, and I haven't watched another pitch all the way through October just because you can't. But I've seen a fair amount. There's been some really exciting games. The Detroit-Houston series, I watched all of both of those games. That was fun. The Mets were a lot of fun to watch over the past few weeks, and obviously they just ran into a better team, but their series, both in Milwaukee and Philadelphia, were fun to watch. So it is the stakes are high, the intensity is fun, and we always sort of bemoan the winner go home in our sport just because it's hard to compare it to other sports because pitching is so important. But when everything is on the line, it is a lot of fun to watch.
You've been in a lot of postseasons over the years. Just take us through what it's like being in the front office and you got to make these roster decisions, and you're crunching all this data to figure out how to give yourself the best possible chance. And then after you crunch all that data and you do all of that work, you've got no control over it. It's played out in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I obviously haven't been as far as the Yankees and the Dodgers are right now, but I can tell you they spent the last 4 days trying to recreate every possible scenario that's going to come up over the next week and putting their rosters together in such a way that they account for every matchup, every little thing, every defensive replacement, every potential base running thing that can come up. There's only so many things you can think of ahead of time. But I know these two organizations are pretty good at doing that. So they've put a lot of work in the last 4 days. Their rosters were due this morning. And like you said, now for Andrew Friedman, his group, for Brian Cashman, they're doing a lot of sitting back and watching things they can't control. That's where we get a little jealous of the managers, because they do actually have a say when it comes to those 3 hours between the lines. But no doubt they'll recap after every game. They'll lay out kind of their game plan beforehand. They'll go through the pitching moves. So there is no end to the work that's going to go into these games.
Do you remember a time when you were sitting there and you and Billy are like, should we have this guy in the roster, have that guy in the roster? Like, you're like, it kind of consumes you, right? Like, as you're trying to give like Bob Melvin the best possible chance in the coaching staff. Do you remember any kind of moves where it was just like this guy or that guy, or do this or do that really weigh on you, and you put a tremendous amount of thought into it?
Yeah, I can't think of a specific player roster move. I mean, when we were in those wild card games, putting that roster together is really interesting, because obviously you only need one starting pitcher. But then you have to account for the scenarios, whether it's injuries, that guy gets hit by a line drive by the first batter, you need length, or you get into extra innings. Like, how many pitchers do you need versus should we have 16 position players so that we can hit and then pinch run and then defensive replacement? Like, weighing sort of the value of all those potential matchups and scenarios, like I said, is an interesting intellectual exercise that then turns into reality, and you just hope you made the right decisions.
Well, we always appreciate your time. Good luck at the GM meetings. Next time we'll talk to you. Dallas this time for the winter meetings.
Yeah, I will see you there. Hopefully between now and then, we've made some player news. We've done some things. I'll give you guys something to talk about other than just Cody's ridiculous projections for the Rule 5 draft.
Oh my God. Are you, Cody, you going to have something for him?
I'll have you. I was going to text you my free agents you should look at for this offseason.
Sure. I'll take some.
Juan Soto will not be on the list. Don't worry. I'm not putting Soto on there. I'll be realistic.
Please do.
One of our callers, George from San Francisco, is from Japan. He's got a whole list of Japanese players he wants me to give to you to look at, by the way. So we have a lot of information for you come Dallas time.
You know where to find me.
By the way, can you pick a Mitch Spence? I mean, Mitch Spence has turned out to be a pretty damn good Rule 5, Cody.
Yeah, I was way off on that one.
Always appreciate it, David. Be well. Good. Hope all is good for you and the family this offseason. We'll see you in Dallas.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
David Forst, the general manager of your Oakland Athletics. Yeah. Why didn't you have Mitch Spence?
I went with the guys that I want the higher profile names. No, there was nothing against Mitchie Spence, but I went for the guys that name value that I've heard of before and never heard of Spence. Not gonna lie. So I was scouring Yankees minor league pitching.
The spin doctor, Mitchie Spence.
And he really proved me, he proved all of us wrong. So
now
good on David. He was right.
Isn't it great talking about all these names? And that's where I don't want to freak out about third base, because Tommy Edmonds playing shortstop. Mookie Betts played shortstop. The team that you looked at the most versatility, I mean, they got guys that play all over the place. Yeah, if you've got to go Hernandez or Schumann or maybe Brett Harris. I mean, Brett Harris hasn't seized the moment. He's had that opportunity. But, Max Muncy 2.0, I mean, you got to have players. You got to have guys that can play. And if you got to stick out, Jazz Chisholm is not a third baseman. He is a second base, turn center fielder, now playing third. Tommy Edmonds playing shortstop for the Dodgers, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. is playing third base for the Yankees. Does that not tell you everything you need to know about versatility, and you don't have to have Mike Schmidt at third base?
Yeah, it's a good point. And, there are guys. We'll go once we get close to free agency starting. Well, I'll give you a couple guys that I think would be great for the organization to look at.
You're never right, though. You need to hit on somebody.
I know. Well, these guys are like more. They're bigger names, but they're not going to be a lot of money.
But if you're going to be challenging the GM, you gotta put a deer up on the wall. You got to get a pelt up on the wall.
I know. I mean, that's why I said I'm not going to give him Juan Soto. I know he's not going to get $47 million a year to Juan Soto.
Hey, why not give him 1 year, $100 million?
Would he take it? Is the question.
No,
probably not. It's a lot of money.
1 year, $100 million.
Flip him at the deadline, and then
we got Lawrence Butler. What are you talking? We're fine.
That's why when I saw the Athletic article Jim Bowden wrote about that, he ranked the top 45 best for free agents, and he linked the A's to one guy, and I'm like, they don't need an outfielder. It was Alex Verdugo. They don't. Where's he going to play?
Why would we need Verdugo?
Yeah, exactly. My guy can play. My big guy is first DH.
Nothing against bling bling. I'd rather spend money somewhere else. If you're bringing back Andujar, if we're thinking everybody's getting brought back, right?
Yeah.
You got Rooker had the surgery. Rooker now a correspondent, which is great, awesome, right? Rooker's going to be doing a lot of media. Rooker's fabulous, but Rooker is going to go back to playing some outfield. So you're going to go back to the DH spot being more of a place to have a day off. Or let's say you have a little dilemma at first base. You need somebody to get at bats, right? Or you want Langeliers to not, you're going to
play it every game.
Yeah, and you want him to. So, I mean, that's where you're going to go back to your DH spot is going to be versatile and moving it around. But, I mean, if you've got Rooker, and you got J.J. Bleday, and you got Lawrence Butler, and Miguel and Duhar.
Yeah. And you got guys.
What the hell you need Verdugo for?
And then you got guys in the system like Bolte and Denzel Clark who are going to be coming. That's why I said my guy is a first base DH guy. That I won't give it away now. It's a tease.
Colby Thomas. Colby
Lewis, great Rangers pitcher.
Yeah. He's going to be knocking on the board.
I think he'll be the first guy up.
So all of a sudden, like, where would you get Verdugo?
Yeah, like I said, it didn't make sense. There was a guy linked, the pitcher that's pitching in this World Series that I was like, I like that name for the A's. We'll save this. These are names you save. You tease for a month later from now.
No, I want to hear who.
Walker Buehler. Why not 2 years, $30 million, or 1 year, $15 million? Would you rather have him at one for 15, or no offense to our friends Ross Stripling or Alex Wood at 1 for 9, or acquiring Stripling from the Giants?
Do you see how bad Walker Buehler's been hit?
Yes. You're hoping he turns it around. But then again, he's not turning around with the Dodgers, and they turn everyone around.
I mean,
change of scenery. Maybe he needs to come somewhere with less pressure. No, it's a fascinating name I saw thrown out there.
Walker Buehler. Does he wear those tight pants?
It has to. It's a staple.
Watch that. I mean, let's just go to Walker Buehler's numbers here.
Can you imagine if it's the A's and Giants playing and it's Walker Buehler versus Robbie Ray, and they both have the tight pants on?
Oh, my God. I mean, people I don't think realize how hard he got hit. Yeah, he was 1-6 with a 5.38 ERA. Now he's coming out Tommy John, a second Tommy John. And baseball is really he's pitching in this series. So all he's going to have off is November, December, January. Report in February. 3.5 months he's going to be back at it. So he's going to go home, have turkey, then Christmas, then New Year's, and he's not going to be a guy that's got a 5.38 ERA. People don't think about human beings. We view 2025 as that's next year. No, it's not. It's 3.5 months. Forget New Year's and Christmas. These guys who are playing right now are going to have 3.5 months off till they report. What is going to change in 3.5 months? Now, if Walker Buehler goes out and pitches great in this World Series, I may be, hey. But right now,
he needs a shove in the game he pitches, just so I can be right.
Well, there's been some times where he looked good in the postseason, but I'm just saying it's only 3.5 months until they're going to report. It's March. Season starts late March. So let's call it 4 months and some change. How much does he revert back to the guy that was dominant with the Dodgers?
Plus, he's another year older.
Isn't that a fair question?
Yeah. So I said you don't have to give him 7 for 120.
Isn't it funny how sports fans always view it as, next year's a different year. It's like, okay, I understand the calendar flips and we all party on New Year's, but pitchers and catchers will report in 3.5 months. Basically 4 months and some change, you need him to start winning games and being a productive player. Does that guy, the Ross Stripling thing, just change his scenery? I mean, it's a short turnaround, especially when you're playing this deep in the season. These guys, short turnaround. I don't think people think about that much. Too many times they're like, oh, he's going to have off-season surgery. Well, this guy's having surgery. He's got to be ready to go in 4 months.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm hoping he pitches well in the World Series, and we can reconvene and talk about this when we start looking at
2 years, $30 million.
It's $15 million a year. It's not. I mean,
we have to spend our money wisely, my friend.
Yes. Well, if he pitches well enough, you want to trade him. There you go.
The second Tommy John always scares me.
It seems to be becoming more and more normal.
It just scares me. It's like it's one thing
not everyone's Garrett Cole, and they go through their whole career so far without having it.
He came back from Tommy John surgery and had obviously pitched some fantastic years for the Dodgers, but coming back from the second Tommy John, that is still a wild card.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I guess time will tell. I mean, he's just the name he's one name. There's another guy
who's the other guy?
Sacramento's own Rhys Hoskins.
He doesn't put the bat on the ball that much.
Sounds like an A already.
Oh no! You go Adam Ottavino. You
brought him up. He's a good one too. If you want a veteran bullpen guy, he'd be
number 0, Adam Ottavino.
Can you imagine him? And I would love to see him in Hoskins. Hoskins hitting at the ballpark there.
I just got to tell you, it is scary that
I really see them in Verdugo.
We cover the pitching numbers for you, and I'm glad we did that really this year. That we really focused on that because a lot of people have referenced that to me this offseason. Like, wow, man, you guys kept talking about that number. I'm like, yeah,
855.
855 pitchers used this year. So it's like, don't tell me who's your 1 through 5 in your starting rotation. That's archaic.
The Marlins ended up using 20 different starting pitchers. 20. One of them was Adam Oller. We talked about that before the season ended. 20 different starting pitchers. I think the Angels were next at 18. A's ended up with 13.
I mean, you've got to think, you've got to at least budget. Like if we're putting a budget together, or it's going to be a pie, right? X amount, you got to have X amount of starters. Yeah. What are you saying? 10 to 13 to be safe?
Yeah. I forgot what the league.
I'm not talking about openers. I'm saying you got to have about 10-ish guys that you can catch. So you've got to have 5 guys at the big league level, and you got to have 5 guys down at AAA with Fran Reardon that you feel that, okay, I got 10 right now, but not everybody's going to stay healthy. That's not a reality. So I got 10 guys. I'm going to start the season, 5 at the big league level in Sacramento, and then 5 in Las Vegas. I feel that I can go to start with, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. And then bullpen. I mean, year to year, Mason Miller, okay, check. I feel good about Mason Miller.
Oh, when it comes to the bullpen?
Everybody else, you're like, whoo.
Yeah, I mean, what's Tyler Ferguson going to do in his second year? Trying to think of we use a lot of bullpen guys.
I mean, you're going to have a full new bullpen.
Michel Otanez, will he be back? I mean, sure he would be, but
really, I mean,
relievers are so volatile.
Remember the year
year over year they change.
Remember the year we sat at spring training and said bullpen is the strength because it's Trevinan and Treinen and Trevino. I've learned my lesson. I'll never do that again. I was like, that's the strength, right? I mean, Blake Trinan had Cy Young votes. He had MVP votes. Trevino was coming on. We thought, man, this bullpen's going to be hell on wheels. And then it fell apart. You don't even know. I mean, Gratterall, who hasn't pitched all year long, is being activated for the World Series. I mean, the bullpens.
Give him credit. He's pitched 7 games. Hasn't pitched in a month.
Bullpens are so fickle right now. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't even know how we talk about bullpen. It's like the day. That's why it's funny. It's like when we go into the offseason, we start about building a team. Like the whole like how we used to talk about it is foolish.
Yeah,
it's absolutely foolish. Think about how the Dodgers had their rotation lined up with Kershaw's coming back. Where's your guy Glass now?
Not coming back.
Kershaw pitching future Hall. I talked to future Hall of Famer Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw, the future Hall of Famer. Nope.
Dustin May, no.
Ginger Guard.
Yeah. Who else is Stone? Tony Gonsolin, who hasn't pitched in like 2 years.
Gonsolin was an all-star.
Yeah, St. Mary's kid.
That's just like it's so hard to talk about. But David's got it right. I just got to find a bunch of guys that get outs and give me innings.
That's why this World Series is going to be interesting. Who's going to first the race to 108 outs?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
4 games. What's 4 times 27?
108.
You did the math on that?
Yeah.
I'll trust you.
27 times 2 is 54 times 2 is 108.
So that's it. You're scrambling. And, it's funny as people say, I wish the postseason played like the postseason is playing like the regular season. It is a scramble fest to find pitching. You're scrambling. Can anybody get anybody out? Right? That's what you do. I mean, you're looking at your bullpen like, who can get somebody out right now? I need you to get outs right now. Because that's the thing that you can see how people in baseball, for the most part, not all, but most people in baseball, they don't work in the other sports. So we're used to the other sports. I'm in the football playoffs, man. I'm in the NFL. This is like, hey, this is the playoffs. Like NBA. Like, you're winning now. Like we're very good at the other sports. Once we get to the postseason, we let the regular season go. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, hockey's a really good example of that too.
You just let whatever happened. Baseball wants to hold, but wait a minute. This is what we did in the regular season. My guy Brian Kinney is on MLB Now going, tournament baseball's different. How do you win in tournament? The game hasn't changed. It's 27 outs. You got to score more runs than the other team. You got to play good defense. You got to pitch well. You got to have time in the hitting. The game doesn't change. It's just they're so into their marathon and their data, making all the decisions on a day-to-day basis during their marathon to where, wham, you get to the postseason, go, gentlemen, you got to win today. You're not hamming and egging it. You got to win today. This is the day that matters. So whatever your data says, you've got to win. They don't like that. They love the process, and I think a lot has to come down to a word called accountability. When you're in the process of winning, of having to win today, there's a lot of accountability. When you're in May and June, how many times you've heard it? We've lost 5 out of 6. It's early.
Every year.
That's a no accountability approach. I have lived that forever. And it drives me nuts how in April and May and June, there's no accountability and it's early. How we do it every year. Every town who gets off to a bad start, it's early. No accountability. Well, now you have ultimate accountability. You don't play well, you go home. And there's no excuses. No one cares, and no one's going to feel sorry for you. Do your guys deliver? That's great that you hit 30 home runs. You know what? Sometimes you need to realize that when you play in X amount of games and you take 30 swings and you run into 30 balls and you hit 30, well, we look at the number and we go 30 is a big number. But when you actually look at 162 games and just 30 swings you ran into one, it's not as impressive as you think. I need you now It doesn't matter that you hit 2 home runs and a loss at Kansas City in April. I need you now when it matters. When, yes, the pressure is on. You have to perform. Not saying you don't have to perform in the regular season, but an 0 for 4, what does it mean when you play again tomorrow? Where there may be no tomorrow. That's where baseball, this is what front offices don't like. It's the accountability of now. 0 for 4 now is different from 0 for 4 in June. 0 for 4 now is different from 0 for 4 in May, right? Hey, we're in Tampa in late April. Doesn't matter. Well, now you're in the World Series and you don't perform, everybody's watching it, and you'll be a failure. You can fail in late April in Tampa. Can't do it now. And that's what scares the hell out of baseball. That's why they don't like the tournament thing, because once again, front office people don't have to answer every single game. The manager talks before the game and after the game. He's doing a lot of what the front office wants. Front office sits up in the offices, right? But now what happens in the postseason is every single move gets picked apart, and now there starts to be more accountability to the front offices, in my opinion, right? You start seeing like, hey, why do they do that? Well, you know it's not all Dave Roberts, and you know it's not all Aaron Boone or whoever. So now you start to see like, hey, your decisions, the roster you put together, the decisions you make, you go into these pregame meetings and say, these are the scenarios, and this is what we're going to do in the scenarios. If they don't work, you now get blamed. No one cares in early May against pick a team.
Pittsburgh.
Milwaukee.
Pittsburgh.
No offense, Milwaukee. Toronto. It's 10 a.m. You know, A's are in Toronto on a Sunday. It's 10 a.m. How many people are watching? But now it's the World Series and everybody's watching. Accountability reigns supreme. What do you do today? We got to quickly go over. We got to go over our predictions.
Oh, yeah, I have to change mine. So go ahead and go through everyone so I can.
All right, mine. You ready for mine? I'm not going chalk. Because let me tell you what chalk is.
You told me Dodgers were going to win in 3.
Yankees in 2, and then it's over. If you pick 7 games, I learned this a long time ago. If you pick 7 games, then you're saying you don't really know.
Wow, shots fired. Hembo said 7.
It's coin flip.
Johnny D.
If you say 7 games, you don't really know. 6 games, you're kind of hedging your bet. Long series. 5 games is bold. 4 games, you're a crazy man, but you got guts.
Well, you told me I couldn't do it. So
you can't do it.
I had to change it.
Mine is, once again, I hate both these teams.
I just hope they both lose.
If we could just tie and both be losers, it'd be supreme for me. I'm going Dodgers in 5.
Oh, the old gentleman sweep.
I'm going to be bold. Bold.
Do the Yankees win at home or at Chavez Ravine?
Haven't thought about that. I'm saying Dodgers in 5. I'm not going to go chalk because I can tell you from a betting standpoint, the favorite to win the MVP, it goes like this. Ohtani, Judge, Soto, Betts, Giancarlo. I'm going to go Will Smith as the MVP.
I was
the
thinking
Fresh
him too.
Prince of Bel Air.
Just had a kid too, first baby.
The catcher comes up big. In honor of my great friend Ray Fosse, I'm going Will Smith as the MVP. And then the third question that I've thrown to everybody, who will get the negative press? Who will get blamed? I'm going to go back to old George Steinbrenner. What was George Steinbrenner's nickname? So the highest paid free agent at the time was Dave Winfield. So he brings Dave Winfield over, Reggie Jackson. They're supposed to win all this. What was the nickname that the boss, George Steinbrenner,
I was going to go the boss, but
gave Dave Winfield?
Oh, I heard this the other day too, and I'm blanking on what it was. Because maybe it was you and I that talked about it. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
You really don't know?
No, I don't.
That is poor baseball knowledge. If Reggie Jackson was Mr. October, Dave Winfield was
Not Mr. October.
Mr. May. Because George Steinbrenner was ripping his own player for not coming up big, so he nicknamed him, slammed him in the media. You give Dave Winfield the biggest contract of all time, and then you slam him in the media by calling him Mr. May. The new Mr. May for the New York Yankees, Aaron Judge.
Oh, okay.
Aaron Judge has not, he's hit a couple bombs.
Yeah,
he's not played well. Yankees go down in 5. Aaron Judge doesn't get hit. And the new Mr. May, move over, Dave Winfield. The new Mr. May is Aaron Judge. Oh, you won the MVP. Yeah, but you hit under 200 and you didn't do anything in the World Series. And your postseason numbers, he's hit some home runs, but they're not great.
You're assuming he's winning the MVP.
And remember, Aaron Judge has played in a lot of postseason games now.
Yeah.
So he's hit some home runs, but the numbers aren't. He's not that. The new miss. So Dodgers in 5, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and the GOAT. It's funny how we like the GOAT calling it. No, the real GOAT. You're the dog. Will be Aaron Judge. The new Mr. May, Aaron Judge.
Okay, for me, since I can't do Dodgers in a sweep like I said to everyone last night. Dodgers in 6, like I initially said to you. MVP, Teoscar Hernandez. And the player's going to get blamed the most. I'm going to go Garrett Cole because he won't be able to live up to the big game moniker, our big game pitcher moniker. So Dodgers in 6, Teoscar Hernandez, Garrett Cole is going to get the most blame.
Okay, our broadcast team. We'll start with Jenny Kavnar. She's going Yankees in 6. She's going Juan Soto as MVP. And she's going to say the $700 million guy, Shohei Ohtani, not providing the big offense, will take the biggest blame.
Wow.
For the World Series loss. That, for sure, is a hot take.
That's only Friday. We gotta save those, Jenny.
All right. Where is my Chris Carey?
I think he said in the group chat, didn't he?
Did he do it in the group chat? See, they weren't supposed to do it in the group chat.
I think Korak said in there.
All right, Chris Carey. We'll go the Dodgers in 5, just like me. He's going to stick with his love for Stanford and St. Louis. Tommy Edman will also be the MVP.
Wow.
How many guys have won the LCS MVP and the...
Didn't Seager do it last year?
Did Seager do it in... Did he do it in 2022? Not 2022, in 2020 also.
Sorry. Adolis Garcia was the...
But check in 2020. I think he did it in 2020 for the Dodgers in the COVID world. I think he was in LCS.
It was Seager, yeah.
There you go. Dodgers get the most hate if they lose for spending $1 billion in the offseason and for losing.
Chalk.
Oh, wow. You call it chalk.
Oh, wait to hear Johnny.
Let's go to our boss, Dallaire. Yankees in 6. Soto MVP. Roberts gets canned after the season.
Wow.
Dallaire's not only calling that Dave Roberts will be the GOAT, he's saying he gets fired after.
No love for Doc, our friend.
Johnny D. Did Johnny D ever finally do it correctly? Johnny D struggled.
Yeah, he texted it to us.
The great Ken Korak. Dodgers in 7. Korak's going to go with his father's favorite player. Ken Korak's father is 104. 104. Loves Freddie Freeman. Why?
I don't know.
Because he reminds him of Stan Musial. Ken Korak's father is 104 years old. Ken Korak's dad watched Stan Musial. He thinks he thinks Freddie Freeman is like Stan Musial. So Freddie Freeman MVP, and the blame for Korak will go to the Yankees bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, because Luke Weaver's our closer right now. Didn't see that coming. Johnny D. I remember Johnny D saying. I remember Johnny D whose pick was. I don't remember who his MVP and GOAT was.
Yeah, I don't.
I think it was Dodgers in 7.
He just can't follow directions. He's the kid in school who can't follow directions.
Wasn't it?
It's Dodgers in 7. And then
I think Kerry asked him his MVP.
He says Mookie Betts will be the MVP. Yankees will get most hate if they lose. So he didn't really answer the question. John.
He's a parents' weekend in Colorado, so he's busy.
Johnny's going to Colorado. God, who are they playing tomorrow night?
Oh, they're playing
a random game. It's
no, is it random?
Yeah, it's not a great. Oh, Cincinnati. It's Colorado against Cincinnati. Do you know what time that game is kicking off?
7:15.
No, in Colorado, it's 8 o'clock.
8:15. Yeah.
They're kicking off at 8:15 in Colorado.
Did Ray send you his?
Oh, the Karate Kid. Yes, he did. I got to go down. He did it correctly. The Karate Kid, Yankees in 6 games.
Sticking with the New York team, of course.
He's going Volpe, the MVP. I thought that is a great selection. The Disney Prince, Anthony Volpe. Dodgers pitching will be the biggest blame for the loss.
Chalk. He didn't say which. He said pitching. Bullpen?
But I do like the Volpe
Yeah,
pick,
Volpe, yes.
Right? So some of us are not going with the guys that are being favored to win the MVP.
No one picked Judge, though. Interesting. Well, not many people picked the Yankees.
Have I done everybody? So Ginny and Chris on the TV side.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Delaire. Yeah. All right. So you're left.
I did mine already.
Oh, you did? What were yours?
Dodgers in 6. Teoscar Hernandez. And Garrett Cole not living up to the big game pitcher moniker.
Okay. Let's see. My guy, Road Trip Mike, where are you? Where are you?
I think it's Cat like the Yankees. He sent me the video.
Yes. Clementine the cat. Road Trip Mike's cat. He put 2 helmets up. The cat went to the Yankee. Renegade Jack Lima, who you see on television all the time, well, the Renegades. He goes Dodgers in 7, MVP Ohtani. George in San Francisco, he goes Dodgers in 7. Shocker, Ohtani the MVP. He would love it to be George in San Francisco would like Ohtani and Verdugo to be Ohtani and Yamamoto to be MVP.
Co-MVPs.
And he blames Verdugo for the not having enough bling bling. Mustang Matt, Dodgers in 6. Max Muncy, MVP.
Let's do a Hembo pick too, right? Hembo pick.
And Aaron Boone for the loss. Greg and Slow hates the Dodgers, so he's going to Yankees in 6. MVP Soto, and the Dodgers team just chokes. That's not really answering the question. Dennis and Hilmar, Dodgers in 7, MVP Ohtani, and Boone fired.
Oh, well, so we have 2 guys saying the managers will be fired.
Donkey from the Firehouse is going to Yankees in 6, Judge MVP.
Oh, there we go. Chalk.
And Dave Roberts to blame. And the great Road Trip Mike is going to Yankees in 6, MVP Judge, and Dave Roberts finally fired. We've got people wanting. These guys aren't getting fired after getting their teams to the World Series.
We did have. We can get into it more next week, but we did have 1 new manager hired, though. Let's see, really new. Tito's back.
Wait, oh, that's old news.
Well, we weren't on the air.
Oh, I was. You weren't.
That's right. He got hired the last game of the year.
Yeah. I thought his health and the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Buster Posey's running the Giants now. That happened while we were gone.
I thought Tito Francona and his health, and he needed to get away, blah, blah, blah. Did you not find that odd?
He didn't even leave the state of Ohio.
Did you not find that odd? Like this whole thing about he's done, he's in his health, and then all of a sudden he's back 1 year. That was odd. Yes, Buster Posey running the Giants. Always interesting when one of your franchise greats takes over.
Can you imagine what would happen if the Astros would have had Bagwell take over like people wanted?
Well, I mean, with Buster Posey, it's going to be about running the franchise, right? And the baseball operations and hiring the right people. And,
there
has to be, Farhan, I'm shocked Farhan lasted that long. I couldn't believe they actually gave him a contract extension when Bob Melvin was hired. I mean, it just didn't work. And, for Buster Posey, you've got to figure out, because right now you're the 4th team in that division. If you're the San Francisco Giants, and just giving you a baseball analysis, not the, Giants hate. And reality is the Dodgers are a better franchise. the Padres are a better franchise and the Diamondbacks are a better franchise. And it's now more than 10 years since you've won a World Series. So hanging on to that really doesn't matter anymore. Yes, those are great memories. It's been a long time. So you've got a lot of work to do. First of all, you've got to get better at bringing people up in your organization, and you got to figure out how to sell your organization better because you have really struggled bringing in players. You can sit here and talk about the view and talk about Oracle Park and how beautiful it is and San Francisco this and San Francisco that. You've not been able to get top flight players to take your money, and you got money. And do you want to spend the money? There's a lot of questions that Buster Posey is going to have to, he's going to answer them by proving it, right? Matt Chapman, no one wanted to give Matt Chapman money. So Matt Chapman took your money. Great. But no one wanted to really pay him.
But then I gave him an extension.
So it's like, what free agents are you going to bring in? What kind of players are you going to develop? How are you going to win to be able to, let's face it, the National League West has been a powerhouse. The Dodgers are a global power. The Padres continue to be good. The Diamondbacks continue, they fell short. But, you went to the World Series last year and you just fell short on the last day. That they're all better than you. How do you stay with great, you're better than the Rockies. But so
Bud Black just got a contract extension.
you can be excited. I would not tell you not to be excited. Buster Posey seems like a pretty competent dude. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I rather if I was a Giants fan. But if I was a Giants fan, you didn't see me vomiting there if you are just listening on A's Cast. The orange and black. Take a seat, meat. Yeah, if I had to listen to that every day.
Grab some pine meat.
Bring some pine meat. If I was in that world, we're leaving town anyway. So
I'll play that for Kruko next time I see him.
If we were in that world, I would rather start new with Buster than continue with Farhan.
Yeah, no, you're right.
If I was in that world. So it'll be interesting to see. But you got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Because, there's that anomaly season, an outlier of 107 wins. That was a total outlier. The years before it, years after it, So that last World Series was 2014. We're heading to 2025. When you've now had a 10-year reunion for your last World Series team. So the days of just pumping the World Series stuff, that's great, Larry Bear. And you can get all your World Series guys on NBC Bay Area, and I'm trying to remind everybody, but it's now been a while, and your division has gotten better.
Way better, yeah. By the way, Dodgers are in the World Series.
Yeah, why don't the Dodgers win the World Series again? And they've won the division 11 out of 12 years.
Yeah,
11 out of 12 years.
But
it's amazing.
Everyone knocks that 20. Well, 2020 doesn't count. That Mickey. Okay, so if they win this year, what's your knock then, Giant fans?
They
paid for Ohtani? What? Because he didn't want your money.
Are the Dodgers going to suck next year?
No, they're going to be. Well, on paper, they're going to be healthier.
Dodgers aren't going anywhere, right? Machado and Nando and those guys, they're not old.
No.
Right? And Diamondbacks, love me some Torey Lovello. So, anything else?
I think that's it.
We got our World Series predictions in.
We're back Monday. Emo's going to be with us. Not Eno, but Emo Scott Emerson.
Once again, guys, we need to suck this up because this is what's best for our sport. Congratulations to Mason Miller. And as David Forst said, probably will be the award he gets. He probably won't get the American League Rookie of the Year, but what a great award. What a great first year. I think you have to be very proud of the way David Forst, the front office, Mark Kotze, the coaching staff, and the players handled themselves through some big-time adversity. To my staff, you guys, how we all handled it. Very proud of that. Wasn't easy. It was emotionally very hard. And all we can control is us. And I think that we represented well. And so I'm proud of all of us. And Commander, you did a great job. And now we sit back and we watch the Fall Classic for the next 2 days. We'll be back on Monday. So we'll cover the entire World Series. Then we'll give you kind of what our schedule is going to be like. We will be at the winter meetings, and everybody in baseball, nobody has better coverage from. Yes, this little thing called Ace Cast has the best guest list of anybody at the winter meetings dating back to when we first started this thing. And we'll continue to crush it at the winter meetings and cover everything baseball. Going to be a lot of fun. But, this is what our sport needs. American television, just not American sports. American television is dominated by football.
Yes. I mean, I just read the note that Sunday Night Football will be for the 22nd year in a row will be the highest watched thing in prime time on television.
Yeah, the top 100 broadcasts in American television are all football games, except like a couple, 2 outliers.
Yeah.
You're going to have the national championship football game, these playoff games in college. I mean, football dominates. I mean, you got these games, college football games I have over 20 million people watching it. I mean, it's incredible. So if we can pry away some attention tonight and tomorrow, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if we can pry some viewers away from football and remind people how great our game is, and if it happens to be the Yankees and the Dodgers, then so be it. It's what's best for our sport. And then to springboard us into the offseason. Got to remind people, man, our sport's great. And look at the talent. Look at these athletes. Shohei Towny is I had this discussion. Someone asked me the other day playing golf, is he the greatest player of all time? I said no. He's the greatest skill set we have ever seen. Time will tell his greatness all time. You got to be the greatest player of all time, you got to play a long time. You got to put a lot of seasons in it. But there's no question he's the best skill set we've ever seen. Aaron Judge is the biggest, strongest. I mean, Aaron Judge is incredible. We have some incredible athletes in our game. Garrett Cole going tonight, right? Mookie Betts, what a tremendous athlete. So we're on full display. Our sport's on full display. And I think it'll be good for Mason Miller. Hopefully he'll get some love. They'll talk about it during the broadcast, and there'll be some mentions, and, away we go. But the Fall Classic, the World Series, all eyes are going to be on it. Because I remember as a little kid, I was 10, 11 years old. I mean, it was a big deal when the Yankees and the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean, you got the Dodgers, you got the Yankees. They're on the Eastern Seaboard. The most people in America live in these places. I mean, there's a reason why we're going to get massive television ratings for the first time in a long time. And that's good for our sport.
You're not wrong. And that was 81. So you'd have been, you were 72. So you would have been 9. You would have been 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 72 teams played in the World Series.
Yeah.
The Yankees won 8 of the 11. So good luck, Dodgers.
Yeah, when they try and pump all that stuff up, you're like, pump the brakes, man. The Yankees haven't been in the World Series since 2009. And you're trying to bring up all this history stuff that nobody cares about.
Oh, that reminds me, on Monday we got to play something. Cashy. Not Kevin Cash. Brian Cashman.
So who's got the best dig in? Is it Cashman or is it Aaron Boone?
I think Boone. Cashman's his is
just don't you love Yankees come west, but then Aaron Boone's a USC guy.
Yeah.
So Aaron Boone, before this World Series, gets a shot at the crosstown rival UCLA Bruins. I loved it.
Yeah, they're both having great seasons.
You're a Bruin for 4 years. You're a Trojan for life.
They're both having great years in the Big Ten, so that's all that matters.
Oh, my God.
They both stink.
Terrible. Game 1 of the World Series coming up. Thank you for watching Ace Cast. It is great to be back. We all needed a break, but I can say we missed you. We missed talking baseball, and I'm excited to be back. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited. We have a lot of things that are going to happen. I've been telling you that. I can't give you everything now. We have a lot of good things that are going to happen really for us going forward. We're excited about the offseason. We're excited about the 2025 season. But we got to get through the World Series first. It's Yankees, it's Dodgers, it's historic Dodger Stadium. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I'm looking forward to it. Next 2 nights, and then there are 3 games next week, or well, could be 4 games if there's a game Monday.
You know, the
or
reality
Friday.
is as we want to be different than people saying Game 6 and Game 7. A 7-game series would be the best.
Yes, I agree.
It'd be to have everybody hanging on every pitch through 7 games, making it historic, and really going chalk, and having somebody like Judge or Ohtani be the MVP. I mean, if Shohei Ohtani is the MVP of the World Series, this is probably the biggest international World Series we've ever seen. You're going to have, if you look at the WBC numbers, where they said like over 70% of all televisions in Japan were on the WBC. If Ohtani, I mean, this game tonight is being played Saturday morning, and game 2 will be Sunday morning. I mean, if you're getting 70% or more of all televisions in Japan watching this, and then everybody else in Asia and this could be the most watched World Series globally. I'm hedging my bet here, but I mean, it really will be the most watched World Series of all time globally.
Yeah, no, it will be. It won't even be close. Because of the star power in it.
And it'll be great for our game if somebody like Judge or Ohtani wins the MVP.
Yeah, as much as we want to see Will Smith or Teoscar Hernandez, it'd be best for baseball if one of those guys won it. I agree.
Well, if Max Muncy wins it. If Gleyber Torres, who was the biggest dog for my fantasy team, if he wins it, I'm going to be pissed because he sucked this year. He sucked.
Jose Trevino. Oh, no, Austin Wells is their catcher. Austin Wells winning it.
Yeah.
Great mustache.
If Gleyber Torres goes off, and he's been playing well, I'm going to be like, you dog. All right, that'll do it. We'll be back on Monday at 1 o'clock. Enjoy Game 1 and Game 2 of the World Series. It is great to be back. It's great to see you all again. And once again, we're excited about the offseason and A's Cast and A's Cast Live. Enjoy the World Series Game 1 and 2. We'll talk to you on Monday.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksoul has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and